Not seeing many problems on the interstates, but nonetheless, still got some crashes to deal with to get to the interstate. Right now, downtown, a crash, 2nd Avenue South, east of Lafayette Street. And then in Brentwood, you've got a crash, Old Hickory Boulevard at Cloverland Drive. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, kids. Let's get it underway just after 3 o'clock, 3:06 to be precise. My name is Matt Murphy. Conveniently, this is called the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Tuesday. It's Jan 7. Is that right? Gosh, 7 days already down. Only 358 to go.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you very
Quick
much.
math, yeah.
Do a little math in my side time. It is 2025. I got the, for the first time this year, you know, because I'm old school. I ride it on the, hello, Chris Webber, by the way.
Hi.
You doing all right?
I'm pretty good.
Good, good. We're gonna talk about Puff the Magic Dragon with Ken Weaver in a minute. Ken Weaver's back in the news closet B, making sure that headlines are available on the half hour or whenever news breaks. So it's episode 723. It's Locks for Trump Day 311. So what was I saying? Oh, for the first time, I do old school. I've tried to do it different ways. I've tried to do typed. I've tried to do it on my laptop. I know that those are ways that are available to me, but in terms of subject matter on the show and doing my one-sheeter, that every host has a version of this in talk radio, right? Everybody's got, you've been around enough of them, from Ralph Bristol to all of them. So my one-sheeter, I finally, on January 7th, wrote 2025. So I'm proud of that.
Not bad. Only
6 days. Only a week. So that's pretty good. It is 2025 for those of you in Aniana that don't know. And all of the rest of that, thank you for being with us. Thank you for spending some time, whatever it's 5 minutes or the full 4 hours. I so appreciate it. You can find us on a variety of platforms. To include, obviously, the radio station, 99.7 FM, 100,000 watts of blowtorch power. There's also a variety of streaming applications that you can utilize to catch the show and take us wherever you go. On your smartphone, your laptop, or any other technology that you might have, just type in Super Talk 99.7 WTN on whatever streaming app you use for news or information, music, podcast, and there we are. You can also download ours. We would appreciate it if you did that. You can find us right there at 99.7WTN. .com is a good resource as well. And then, of course, Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Talk TV up and running. Like and subscribe us. And thank you to U.S. Pest for not only bringing you the television side of things, but bringing you this radio program each hour, brought to you by U.S. Pest. And I appreciate J.K., Erica, and the rest of the team over at U.S. Pest. By the way, a little scoop here. I don't know if anybody else has said it, and I'll go ahead and tell you. It is my understanding that what with the inauguration of Donald J. Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America, with that comes a little bit of a studio makeover. Huh?
Ooh.
That's right.
Really?
I have it on good authority. That the week following the inauguration, at some point, we might be in a different setting for a day or two while they redo our studios. How about that?
Is that right? Wow, that's big news. I haven't heard that.
That's what I'm told. I'm told that the discussion about eliminating this desk ended up at, we're just going to redo this desk. Because apparently this desk, if this desk goes, so goes the facility.
The building just collapses.
Collapses around the desk.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
kind of
told.
what I thought.
So, you know what? Next couple of years, maybe the control room. You never know.
That will be in a different building by then, probably.
You never know. I'm just wondering when we're going to do something about the wall of Froot Loops. Would you? This predates me. Would you care to tell the audience what the wall of Froot Loops is?
It's just a collection of letters and postcards that we've received from listeners over the years that have been a little on the unique side.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I fear that we have lost that in our business because now those folks either just email you or they send it on the super text.
The text, yeah, that's kind of taking it over.
Taking over the wall. I had a guy in Birmingham. He would send me with a fair amount of regularity, and by that I mean once every 3 months. It was a package that he would pay like $15 to send. It was this thick. It was like 2 inches thick of photocopied. He would do like little collages and montages,
like ransom notes.
Yeah, yeah. Where he would take photos and he would draw arrows, and it was crazy as a poop house rat, man. This guy, he had it going on.
So at his home, he probably had like a whole wall that had the strings and the little pins attaching.
You just gotta, you gotta put 4 and 8 together, and you get 10. And if you know,
mm-hmm.
and they're just after you. He would send that to me with regularity.
Wow.
People were like, "Don't you want to report him?" It's like, no, he's not hurting anything. And then I met him.
And then you reported him.
No, I didn't report him, but I realized that I did not need to be alone with him. You know what I mean? Now Ken Weaver's back, and I got to talk to Weaver about something. It was in his newscast. Hello, Mr. Weaver. How are you?
I'm doing good, Brother Murphy.
By the way,
Brother Chris.
I want to thank you, Ken Weaver. By the way, it was very nice. We got a little industry accolade, and you were a part of it, Ken Weaver. Chris Weber, I'd like to say that you were a part of it, but you weren't. But you'll get your accolade tomorrow, I think.
Oh.
But the Barrett News Media, which is kind of what would you call that, a trade publication?
The Trade.
Yeah, a trade publication.
Okay.
Everybody has them. They do their annual best of deal, and we were named the 4th best midday radio show in America.
Really?
Wow. For 2024.
Right. Way to go, Brother Murphy.
And that is mid-market, so that is excluding the biggest markets in America. I think the top 25 markets, and every other market is included in that. And I have to sneeze. Stand by. It's coming. I'm holding off. Okay, I'm good.
I love sneezing.
Wow.
It feels good.
It does feel good. I got the sneezes, and I don't know why. I don't think I'm sick. I feel good. Is it just the change of weather, man? What's going on?
That's what I'm going to call
Could
it.
be.
But, they're coming. They're coming fast and fast. I'm going to sneeze on somebody at some point today, I promise. But anyway, number 4. And you know what? I remember my beloved grandfather, something that he said to me on his deathbed. He looked at me and he said, boy, he called me boy, whatever you do in your life, try to be the 4th best at it. And so here we are. We're number 4. So thank you all for making us number 4. It's all you. It's Ken Weaver, Bell K, and you for the 2024 season.
That's way to go, Brother Murphy.
Well, it's all good. It's all good. It's all about the audience. It's all about these folks out there in the listening audience and this powerhouse of a radio broadcast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Mandis received his accolade the other day. He was number 3.
Number 3.
And Murphy's number 4. Mr. Chris Hand was number 18. That's like in his first year of eligibility.
Good.
That's pretty darn good.
That's pretty good.
So we got a powerhouse radio station for you, and I'm just a little bitty part of it, and I'm appreciative. So I need some clarification, Ken.
Okay.
On a story that you just did in the 3 o'clock hour newscast.
I'll do my best.
Who died?
Peter Yarrow. He was part of the folk trio Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Okay.
You might remember them from this little ditty. That's not about marijuana. Peter Yarrow said that was not about marijuana.
Is that what Peter said?
That's what he said. He said he wrote that based on a poem by then 19-year-old author and filmmaker Jenny Lipton. Often thought to be about marijuana use, Yarrow insisted it was an ode to leaving childhood behind to become an adult.
Really?
Yeah.
Together they would travel.
That was written. Do we have a year on that? Do we have a? I'm going to get a year on that.
Well, I got to look that up.
Let's see Let's see who gets to it first. I want a year on that.
The Magic Dragon.
And he's gonna. The first thing that's going to pop up is obviously this song is about marijuana use.
Let's see here. That was written in 1962.
Okay. Maybe, you know what? Maybe Peter's got a point. I don't know. All I know is that artistic intent only goes so far. What the receiver does with it says a lot about the type of song that you've written. And all I know is that when I was in college, Puff the Magic Dragon was about weed.
I don't think they were smoking marijuana in 1962, were they?
Somebody was. I guarantee that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cary Grant was like doing LSD in 1962.
I think Peter, Paul, or Mary were smoking it back then.
All three of them together, beside themselves, outside of one another's company, whatever.
Yeah. Guys, I've got a great idea for a song. Let's make it about a dragon.
Far out, man.
Hey, 3143 says, hey, what does Paul and Mary say about it? Yeah, we know what Peter has to say about it. What did Paul and Mary have to say?
What's Mary's middle name? Is it Jane?
Mm-hmm. I just about every side, I'll tell you, years ago, I told my listening audience, and they didn't like it very much, but go and listen to the fabulous song Little Red Corvette by Prince.
Oh, yeah.
That ain't about a car, y'all.
No.
It's not about a car. And I know some of y'all want it to be about a car, but it's not about a car, and it's never going to be about a car. Okay? Okay. All right. And I don't believe Peter. Peter can say what he wants. I didn't believe the Beatles when they said Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds wasn't about LSD.
That was just about an old girl up there in the sky.
What was the one?
Showing off her bling.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, no, it was just a fantastical little song about magical hallucinations.
She was on a big hot air balloon.
Oh, sure. Come on. This is just a little fantasy thing we're doing.
I think you're reading it wrong. I'm not so sure that the song is about LSD. I just think they were on LSD when they wrote
it. Along with Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
And any number of other hits done by the Beatles. What was the one? So they all say the same thing, and I'm not saying Peter's lying. God rest his soul.
Yes, sir.
But you know what? Puff the Magic Dragon can be about whatever you want it to be about, Peter. You wrote it.
That's right.
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, same thing. But wasn't it, who wrote the song Lakeshore Drive? You know what I'm talking about? Lakeshore Drive. Oh, no, I'm going down to Lakeshore Drive. I don't know any of the words, but I just remember the tune.
That's old Skip Haynes.
Skip Haynes?
He wrote the iconic 1971 song Lakeshore Drive for his band Eliota Haynes and Jeremiah.
What?
I didn't even know that. Was that Eliota
Is that the
Haynes
song I'm thinking about?
Well, I don't know.
Let's see. I don't know if I know this one.
Do you have the audio?
They have both passed away.
Oh, well. Probably for reasons that I'm about to note. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's the song. So this song comes out. So they had the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds thing at Lakeshore Drive. Anybody get it yet?
Oh,
LSD.
Yeah.
And they asked him about it. And he goes, absolutely, it's about. And so everybody's like, no, it's not about LSD. No, it's not about. And this guy's like, absolutely, it was about LSD.
I've never heard of this guy.
Me either.
Or people.
This song became.
I kind of like it.
Oh no, this is a pretty good one. Let that roll over your eardrums.
Pretty blue lights. All right.
Oh, Lakeshore Drive. Yeah, so Lakeshore Drive, obviously, a iconic road in Chicago on the, I guess that's Lake Michigan.
It is.
I believe it is.
Yep.
So, yeah, he writes that song, and he's asked, well, some people have said this song is about LSD, hence the title, Lakeshore Drive. And he goes, yeah, absolutely.
That is correct, sir.
That is correct. That is what it's about. Hope you enjoy it. Next question. Well, that answers that. One way or the other, we'll miss old Peter. I didn't even know he was sick.
He had bladder cancer.
Oh.
He was 86.
That's too bad. That's too bad. And look, I don't know. I was listening to Chad. During the cross, we were talking about this, and I understand that the pomp and circumstance of state funerals can be a little much for a lot of us, particularly if this happens to be a president of the United States of America that they didn't really care for. Jimmy Carter was not a good president. By most any metric, Jimmy Carter was not a good president. You don't find a lot of liberals telling you that Jimmy Carter was a good president. Now, whether or not Jimmy Carter was a good man depends on where your perspective is. If you talk about some of his engagements with foreign nations after his presidency, some people have a little bit of concern because he didn't seem much invested in America as much as he seemed invested in advancing the causes of some of those other nations, particularly Arab-based nations that wanted to do harm and insult to the United States of America. That said, his work with homeless people, his work with poverty-stricken people, it is of note. It is clearly one of the things that people point to and look to in his life post-presidency that you can say he did some good things there. And, of course, he did some good things there. I'm not into the pomp and circumstance. At the same time, I don't take exception with it because, well, for this simple reason. Funerals are not for the dead.
No, sir.
Funerals are for the living. Funerals are for those of us that are grieving. And it gives those of us who have any sort of connection with the dead an opportunity to remember their lives and to grieve our loss. And particularly if you are a believer, then you recognize that it is our tears are for us, not for those fellow believers that are going on to their great reward. And one thing you can say about Carter, and I know some people aren't going to say anything nice about him, and that's fine, but Jimmy Carter was a faithful human being all the days of his life. And I think his faith actually became an impediment to his presidency, and his faith became an impediment later on in his life because he believed that others were as good-hearted as he seemed to be. And as a result, they took complete advantage of him over the course of his life, especially when he acted as an agent of negotiation over the years post his presidency. And that's what I have to say about that. That's going on right now in Washington, D.C. The Carter funeral procession arrives at the U.S. Capitol. He'll lie in state at the U.S. Capitol. It's an honor. And people will proceed. I don't begrudge anybody doing this. I don't understand why you would do it.
I think it's kind of interesting.
I mean, the ceremony involved in it is interesting. I don't understand being the person that stands in line that wants to walk past the casket.
Right.
I just don't understand that.
Yeah, that is unless you just want to be there for a part of history or something like that. But I find it interesting how the members of the armed services will stand at each corner of the casket and stand at perfect attention.
Yes.
And they do it for hours.
Yes, they do. And it's incredible. I mean, the ceremonial aspects of this are incredible. And I believe that his funeral is going to be, is it tomorrow?
It is
2 days from now. Thursday. At the National Cathedral.
Right.
If you ever have planned a trip to Washington, D.C., and you have never gone to the Washington National Cathedral, I strongly encourage you to go to the Washington National Cathedral. It is an incredible It is an incredible monument. It's an incredible cathedral. Everything about it, every aspect about the Washington National Cathedral is incredible. Starting with this. They only built on that property when they had the money to build. Obviously, no government funding went into the Washington National Cathedral because it is a church building. I mean, it is a church. It's a cathedral. And it took them, I want to say, 95 years to build it. And I might be off in my years, but it's around that.
Wow.
And it took them that long to build it because they only continued construction when they had the money to do it. So, and I forget, forgive me, someone on the super text line will know. I forget the denomination. I don't know if it's Episcopal or I think they are largely non-denominational. I could be wrong. I don't want to go any further saying what denomination the National Cathedral is, but I want to say it's Episcopalian. I don't think it's not Catholic. But I want to say it's Episcopalian.
Episcopal.
Is it? Okay, I was right. So we toured the grounds of that cathedral. The stained glass in that building and the history of the stained glass in that building alone is incredible. But just walking through, and when we were there, they were doing construction or they were doing repair work because of the earthquake that came through Washington, D.C. 15 or so years ago. It's just an incredible testimony to the way things used to be done. They don't believe in loans, and so they started with the sanctuary, and there are words and terms for this, and y'all forgive me because I don't know them. But just do yourself a favor. If you want to see some of the history of Washington, D.C. in real time, go to the Washington Cathedral, and that's apparently where Jimmy Carter will be eulogized on the 9th, this coming Thursday. It's 25 after the hour. I'm very late. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
A new rule improves the credit scores of millions of Americans. We'll tell you about that and other stories coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
One of these days, when we don't have anything else going on, maybe on a Friday afternoon, we should do this show where we talk about songs and what they actually mean, because a lot of people are responding to our conversation about Puff the Magic Dragon and Little Red Corvette.
Yeah.
Our own redheaded stranger, Pamela First, said, wait a minute, Little Red Corvette's not about a car. No, it's not about a car. I'm just,
That's Brother Des Dickerson on the guitar, by the way.
That is, and that's a fine lick on that guitar, tell you what. But there are some other suggestions that some of the songs that you grew up with, like Summer of '69 isn't about a year. No, You'll have to. Isn't that Brian Adams? You'll have to get
Yes,
Brian Adams
that
to
is
tell you
Bryan
about
Adams.
all of that. I'm telling y'all, I'm drippy.
That's that Canadian rocker Brian Adams.
That's another Canadian. I'm telling you guys, I'm drippy. What does that mean? Is that allergies or is that me getting sick?
Bird flu. I don't know.
You're getting the crud.
I think I'm getting the creeping crud. I think that's what's happening. Tomorrow morning, I want to alert you when we do Ken's News. This is a story that I've talked about on Facebook and on social media platforms. You can find me at Matt Murphy Show on the X machine. I did not talk about it yesterday because I wanted to make sure that I had all of my ducks in a row, because I want to be extremely respectful to the family of Donald Harlow and their wishes. And I've only talked to one family member. And if you don't know the name Donald Harlow or what I'm referring to, you can find out some additional information on social media platforms, X at Matt Murphy Show. You can find me Matt Murphy or Matt Murphy Show on Facebook. But I'm going to tell you where I'm going to be tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, and I would encourage you to be there as well. And I'll give you some of the details on all of this coming up in just a moment. It is a matter of honoring at a funeral service one of our fallen that served their country for 4 years in the United States Navy. We'll talk about that next. It's 31 after the hour on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes while we're freezing and bracing for snow here in Middle Tennessee. Out west, a 30-acre brush fire has prompted evacuation orders in the Pacific Palisades portion of Los Angeles. Evacuations ordered for the community in the mountains overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Drivers there on the Pacific Coast Highway and other roads encountering backups as they try to get out. A new rule improves credit scores of millions of Americans by removing medical debt from credit reports. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
2 out of every 5 Americans have medical debt, and those unpaid medical bills can take a big toll on your credit score. But now that is about to change. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans.
President-elect Trump on the losing end in a hush money case ruling today. The New York Appeals Court Judge Ellen Gessmer rejecting Trump's effort to delay sentencing, which is Friday. Meanwhile, the federal judge overseeing President-elect Trump's now dismissed classified documents case has temporarily blocked the Justice Department from releasing a report prepared by special counsel Jack Smith while the legal battle plays out. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announcing changes to Facebook, Insta, and Threads. Here's Mike Nabusky.
The changes include moving the company's trust and safety team from California to Texas in an effort to address the concern that biased employees are over-censoring content, according to Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. He also says his companies will work with President Trump to push back against foreign governments going after American companies to censor more.
Well, it's the start of 3 days of memorials in Washington, D.C. for former President Jimmy Carter. This is the military band accompanying the procession from the Navy Memorial to the Capitol. A horse-drawn caisson carrying Carter's casket. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Still got a crash downtown, 2nd Avenue South, just east of Lafayette Street. Now on the North Loop, we've got a crash blocking the right lane, 65 northbound there at the 24-65 split. And in Brentwood, a crash, Old Hickory Boulevard at Cloverland Drive. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Snow builds in through the morning, widespread snow through the afternoon and evening, putting down a couple of inches across the mid-state.
Sadly, we see the crime that exists in Metro Nashville and the surrounding communities. How do you protect yourself from that crime? Well, many of you choose to arm yourselves to protect your property and your families. Well, what do you do to protect those guns? I would encourage you to go to Nashville Safe House and to check out a gun safe from the gang at Nashville Safe House. 2025 is another year where if you don't have a gun safe, you're putting yourself at risk, particularly if you choose to arm yourself in your home to protect your property and to protect your family. And they've got the right one for you, right? They've got a price point for every budget. They've got great fire ratings, and they've got all the name brands that you know and love, like Browning, Fort Knox, Champion, Rhino, and on it goes. They've got vault doors, they have storm shelters, and they have biometrics as well. They have over 200 safes right there on the showroom floor on 4th Avenue South, and another, sometimes as many as 400 in the warehouse. They have a safe for you. I would encourage you to buy a little bit bigger than you think you need, because I promise you, you'll fill it. Gun safes are always sales tax free at Nashville Safe House, and they are again in 2025. So know that as you walk through the doors. Say hello to Mark and his team. Tell them I sent you to Nashville Safe House. 4th Avenue South, online, NashvilleSafeHouse.com. That's NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice. We're going to own it. We're going to own Panama, the canal, the property, everything else. We're going to own Canada's the 51st state. That's my poor Trump impersonation. Yeah, let's get it. Get that canal back. Repair the damage that old Jimmy did to us.
The Trump dance would go perfectly with that song.
It really
just
would.
saying.
Make America's canal great again. So the big takeaways from Donald Trump's press conference is we're taking back the Panama Canal. And, oh, by the way, Greenland and Canada, we're just going to go ahead and take those two.
Yeah, just don't worry about it.
You know, how many Canadians would say that they would want to be America's? I mean, I think they would, say they didn't want it. But do you think there's a significant population portion that would say, sure, why not?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah? I don't know. And that would be an interesting poll if we could take a poll on the number of people in Canada that would want to enjoy the freedoms and liberties that are enjoyed by the United States of America by becoming America's 51st state. I mean, it certainly broke Justin Trudeau. We'll get into Trump's press conference coming up in just a moment. We're playing a variety of selections to honor Donald Trump's press conference. You can offer your suggestions, 615-737-9986. On the super text line, please. Any suggestions for songs in honor of Donald Trump's press conference? If you caught any of that, it was absolutely. My first takeaway was this. How refreshing that we now have a president-elect that is ready, willing, and able to step before the microphone and without any notes, without anybody in his ear, without having to pre-select individuals and know what questions are coming beforehand, Donald Trump stands before the assembled media, offers a statement, a lengthy one at that, and takes question after question after question after question from the press. Unscripted, impromptu, off the cuff, and appointed in his approach. How refreshing is it to see an incoming commander-in-chief who has this willingness and, more importantly, this ability? It is not only a stark contrast to the travesty leaving the White House right now in 2 weeks. It is amazing to remind ourselves of how gaslit we truly have become. How accustomed we have become to Joe Biden's infirmity. Donald Trump's not a spring chicken. Donald Trump's up there in age. But what he did today reminds us of what a president ought to be able to do. Joe Biden hasn't been able to do that in the entirety of his presidency. He has note cards with the photograph of the name of the person he has to call on to make sure that he doesn't call on the wrong person and point to the wrong person. And even on the note card, they tell him the subject matter that the person's going to talk about. They get him the question ahead of time when he deems it absolutely necessary to hold a press conference at all. Donald Trump today? Oh, it was a different world. I don't care if you love the guy or hate the guy. He stood there, he took the questions, he gave the answers, and he freaked the media out, which is also awesome. Donald Trump is the best political troll in America's, well, I don't know, I won't say in America's history, but I will certainly say in our modern history. Reagan had his way of trolling the media too, but it was a much more affable, friendly, smile, aw shucks kind of thing. Donald Trump is a master at it. Oh, by the way, just a little side note, in the press conference today, they also announced that a foreign nation is investing through their companies $20 billion into the United States of America. It's the United Arab Emirates. And, oh, by the way, they stood before the assembled cameras and announced that they would not have been doing so had a Democrat been the president of the United States, saying, we waited 4 years for this. I've got the clip, and I'll play it for you in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about this for just a moment. I don't want to belabor it necessarily, and that is on purpose. But I received something in my inbox. It was actually a direct message that was given to me. And over the weekend, I did my best to amplify this message because I believed in it and supported it so much. The message that was sent to me was simple. It was a screenshot of something that was posted on a Fairview, Tennessee Facebook page. And the person that sent it to me said, we need to see what we can do about this. That was it. We need to see what we can do about this. Here's the original message. And I'm going to tell you in a minute why I am sensitive to some of the details on this, because I've spoken to one of the family members involved in what I'm about to read to you. Hi, everyone. My great uncle who served in the Navy passed away December 27th. My grandfather and mom are the only ones who are going to the funeral, since unfortunately he was very old and he was the last of his friends. It breaks my heart to hear how upset my grandfather is knowing that no one will be there. Is there anyone in the Nashville, Tennessee area who could possibly be interested in going to his quick funeral at the Middle Tennessee State Veterans Cemetery? It would mean the world if even one person showed up for him. And then the person that posted this, the great niece of the gentleman that passed away by the name of Claudia is her first name, gave the time and the date and the address to the Middle Tennessee State Veterans Cemetery. For those interested, that time is tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. It is at 7931 McCrory Lane in Nashville. It's kind of in the Pegram area. It's west Nashville. I posted something about this, and the response was overwhelming. I also contacted and connected with our good friend of the show, John Rich, because I knew that John had a megaphone, an amplification megaphone far greater than mine, especially on social media. And I communicated with him directly, and I said, John, can you help me out with this? And he said, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm going to change things around, and I'm going to the funeral. And I had already told him that I was going. In the subsequent hours after we posted about this, and I think in its own way went viral, and there are now hundreds, if not more than hundreds, of people that are going to go to this funeral. A couple of things happened. One, I did not have a name associated with the funeral, and so in an effort to make sure, and look, you don't want to be too suspicious about life, but you just need to make sure that everything's on the up and up, because I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of weird people on social media, right? But I reached out to and talked with Claudia. And she is the great niece of the gentleman in question. His name is Donald Harlow, and he served in the 6th Fleet for 4 years in the United States Navy, and obviously recently passed away, and is survived by his brother and his niece, and obviously great niece. In that conversation, a couple of things were obvious to me, and I am very sensitive to this, that the family does not want to make this about them. And so much so that initially I was asked not to talk about it on the radio. And that was because of the overwhelming level of response that they were getting. I think Claudia and the rest of the family were a little overwhelmed after she posted this. Overwhelmed in a very, very good way, in a very, very positive way. The level of love and the outpouring of support and love for this individual that none of us know, or at least to my knowledge that none of us know, is absolutely incredible. Secondarily, I got the great sense that the family does not want to make this into something that seems self-serving. And that is such in the spirit of so many of our fellow Americans that served their country with dignity and with honor, and merely did it because it was their job to do, because they loved this country and they felt the patriotism. And they felt that love of country to the point that they were called to service. And it was simply something they did. And they don't want any special sort of accolades or attaboys as a result. And I got the feeling from the family that that was the case too. They don't want to make this about them, quote unquote, but more about those that serve. And thirdly, and I'll say this, I really do believe that all of this was born, and you can find it on my social media platforms. You can find it at Matt Murphy Show. You can find it at Matt Murphy Show on the X machine or on the Facebook. The family member put out that request for people to attend the funeral since so many of his friends had already passed away. And it is still scheduled for Middle Tennessee State Veterans Cemetery. An incredible amount of veteran organizations and a lot of you have taken note and have now stepped up and planned to attend. The family they're asking for something of a more private gathering. I've spoken, or I've not spoken, but I've seen posts where the Naval Command said that they will be handling the gentleman's service with full honors. So the request has been now that if you do choose to attend, and I'm planning to attend, that you do so from a distance and honor and respect the somber nature of the moment and honor and respect the private nature of the moment. And so I know that in a way you're being asked to do two things. I just wanted to clean this up publicly because I had spoken about it so much over the weekend. My desire to honor any veteran that dies, let me put it this way. I'm respectful of the privacy of the individuals involved, and I don't think that they expected that this would receive the intense amount of attention that it ultimately did. I think it is a testimony to the good nature and the good hearts and the patriotic spirit of this state, of our community, and of our really of the people that love this country and respect and have a great appreciation for the fight and the spirit of the fight that it takes to keep this country. So all of this to say, if you're planning to attend, if you had made, know that the family is asking for more of a private inner circle around the gravesite. They are gratified and are very gracious of the love and support that they have received. I just don't think that they expected this amount. So just want to give you a little bit of an update on that. And we want to honor those wishes. So y'all do what you need to do, but just know that if you do happen to go, honor and respect the wishes of the family. I understand that it feels like you're being told two things, but here's my bottom line on this, and I'll finish up with this. If you ever hear tell of a service member that is being buried and they do not have people to come to their service, just let me know, because I'll go. And frankly, I'll extend that to just about anybody. Because, you know what, life is hard, and in a lot of ways, life is long, and every human being should have the opportunity to have those at their grave to honor the life that they led, at least the vast majority of them. I mean, there are some that, you know, I mean, you get what I'm saying, but so that is that. For those of you on social media that have been following me, y'all do what you need to do. I'm not telling you what to do at this stage, but I will tell you that the family is very grateful and completely and totally overwhelmed with regard to the response that they've gotten. It's 53 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for USS, which stands for United Structural Systems. Here's the problem, folks. We live in the terrain area in the United States where it's very hilly, right? I mean, you know, you live in Tennessee. It's hills and valleys and this and that, and there's a lot of water going up downhill and whatnot, and that can cause issues with your foundation. It can cause issues with waterproofing underneath your home, and if you have noticed some of those issues, it's time to call the best. It's time to call USS. They have nearly 30,000 satisfied customers since 1994. They've been doing it that long. And friends, it is a joy that they have in their hearts to tell you that there's nothing wrong with your foundation. And if they come out to your home, if you're concerned about something or another, and they find that there's nothing wrong, they will tell you that quick, because they're not there to cause problems. They're there to solve problems. And if you have one, they can solve it with the lowest price point possible and as quickly as possible. This is the company that cares. This is the company that you can trust. Homeowners trust USS. Go to USSTN.com or call 615-488-7855, 488-7855 for USS. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
4 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And while we're freezing and bracing for snow here in Middle Tennessee, wind-driven wildfires forcing people out of their homes in parts of Los Angeles County. A 30-acre fire has exploded to 180 acres in the Pacific Palisades this afternoon. Just one state over, law enforcement in Nevada updating the investigation into the Cybertruck explosion in Vegas on New Year's Day. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Sheriff Kevin McMahill says they've been going over the suspect's digital history.
We also have clear evidence in this case now that the suspect used ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, to help plan his attack.
A document found on the suspect's phone allegedly mentions political and cultural and social issues to include criticism of the Biden administration. He also allegedly wrote he was, quote, super high on weed. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
2 out of every 5 Americans have medical debt, and those unpaid medical bills can take a big toll on your credit score. But now that is about to change. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans.
2 judges making decisions today in some Trump cases. First in New York City, appeals court judge Ellen Gessmer rejected Trump's argument that presidential immunity means sentencing in the hush money case should be delayed. It's set for Friday. And in Florida, federal court judge Eileen Cannon temporarily blocked the Justice Department's release of the now dismissed classified documents case report from special counsel Jack Smith. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, rolling back many of his company's content moderation practices, including getting rid of third-party fact checkers.
Fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the U.S.
Platforms like Facebook, Instagram will now use Community Notes system, where volunteers can add additional context to viral posts. Meta's Trust and Safety team is also moving from California to Texas. And right now in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 was there when Wilson County School Board member Dr. Beth Myers spoke on misbehavior on buses.
If you are a parent, please talk to your children about respect, about sitting down, about not using profanity with our bus drivers. It's common courtesy.
Dr. Myers and the other board members considering volunteer parents to ride buses to observe the students and let drivers know when there are issues. They would be hands-off, just observers. Some Wilson County School Board members say they're told that middle schoolers are causing the most problems on buses. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a crash on the North Loop going northbound right there before 2465 split. The right lane is blocked. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Here we are, and here we go. Hour number 2 of the Matt Murphy Radio Show begins right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being around. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative. You may participate in the proceedings, not passively, but actively, by dialing us up at 615-737-9986. Phone lines always open and available. I love turning a monologue into a dialogue. I do it on a regular basis, and I'll even be nice to you. Well, most of you. 615-737-9986. You can also hit us up on the Super Text line if you're a little shy and don't want to do so on the telephones. Super Text line is fabulous for you, 615-737-9986. I do not want to sneeze on you, nor if you're watching me on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. By the way, Super Talk TV, like and subscribe us. Do us that favor. Thank you for being out there, and thank you to US Pest for providing us Super Talk TV and providing us each hour of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. JK and Erica Brister, US Pest, great people. So I don't want to sneeze on you, and I don't want a runny nose on you, but I fear that I have something of a sniffle coming on, which might be cough due to cold related. So I apologize if I sneeze on you at any point during the proceedings. There, I said it. Now, speaking of proceedings, the state funeral of President Jimmy Carter is in progress, and there are an assembled number of individuals, to include dignitaries from the United States Capitol. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is there. Chuck Schumer's there. Majority leaders, minority leaders alike. All the leadership of the United States Capitol is in place. Family members, one would expect, other congressional members, etc., probably representatives from the executive branch of government, etc. And we have just seen the casket draped in an American flag of President Jimmy Carter placed on the, what is that? I bet you that's Lincoln's. So I don't know what it's called. It's the, Chris Weber can do a quick fact check for me. It is the table that the casket goes on. There's a name for it. And I don't remember what the name is. But I know that item because I've seen it in person. Uh-oh. Do you not?
I can't pronounce the name of it.
Oh, get the lady to pronounce it for you.
Yeah. That's
There might be a.
But you're right. It is the Lincoln. Hang on. I got to.
So Abraham Lincoln, obviously, he lost too soon. He was died by an assassin's bullet, and he was placed in the United States Capitol. I want to say he had a train funeral procession that went over great portions of the country. And when he was eventually placed in the rotunda, he was placed on this particular table.
I'm going to give it a shot before I hit the button.
Okay.
Catafalque.
Okay.
Let's see what she says.
Catafalque.
Oh, he says. Yeah,
Hello.
I got it.
How about you?
That's way to go, brother Chris Weber.
How about the big brain on Weber?
Catafalque.
Catafalque.
The Lincoln Catafalque.
And it is in the lower portions of the United States Capitol. I had the great opportunity of having a personal tour. A good friend of mine, Congressman Gary Palmer, took us around the Capitol, and we went into what would be, I don't know that you would call it the catacombs, but it's a lower portion of the United States Capitol. It is right below the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, where the catafalque is currently sitting. And they use that catafalque each time someone is lying in the rotunda during a state proceeding or a state funeral. So they have. I'll tell you what. Just in the spirit of this, because they have just begun the proceedings. Let's join this in progress and listen to a little bit.
And to follow you more nearly each day. We pray in your matchless name. Amen.
Obviously,
the indication there from the chaplain.
Called them during the middle of a prayer. So if there's any other vocalized presentation, we will perhaps join that back in progress. But the state funeral of President Jimmy Carter is not set to conclude. This is him lying in state in the rotunda. And eventually the dignitaries will leave out, and then individuals will be allowed to walk through the rotunda and to pay their respects to the former president of the United States. Look, he's one of 47, and if you understand that Grover Cleveland served twice and Donald Trump is serving twice, that there's only been 45 presidents of the United States of America. And so it is altogether right and proper that we honor those, even if we disagree with their politics, even if we disagree with their policies. It is right and proper that we honor them. And Donald Trump said as much earlier today. So there is a eulogy that is going on right now. I think Senate Majority Leader John Thune is talking. We will not carry that live, but just understand that we're monitoring that as it is in progress on Capitol Hill in the rotunda of the United States Capitol. Rick is in Columbia next. Hello, Rick. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Chris, I tip my hat to you, young man. I can call you young man. I'm 75 years old. What you've done to make us all aware of this brave veteran's funeral tomorrow.
I'm a little, Mr. Rick, I will admit, and by the way, I'm Matt.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Don't worry about it. That's fine. I just want to let you know. So I feel a little weird about it, only in as much as I felt like we were doing the family's wishes by amplifying this funeral, and now they have become so overwhelmed they are asking for a certain level of privacy in the midst of the amount of people that are going to come tomorrow. So I admit to you, and I'm just admitting to everyone in real time, that I'm a little bit torn about how to proceed on it, but I'm still planning on being there, certainly.
Well, yeah, my apologies for the name mistake.
No, it's all good. Don't worry about that a bit. Don't worry about that a bit.
I'm 75. Listen, I want to tell you, my father, like so many of this gentleman's who lived there in the greatest generation, at that time of war, lied about his underage, went to war, and he too served in the 6th Fleet. So my plans are, if my bum hip will allow, I plan on to attend that gentleman's funeral from afar, as requested, and then afterwards I'll go visit my father. So you keep up the good work, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rick. I do appreciate the call, and I do appreciate the kind words. It's the least that we can do. If we can't draw attention to items like this and situations like this, I don't know what we're here for. I have a tender place in my heart, especially for those who do not have others to surround them and bathe them in love and compassion. My big deal was, and I think this is the genesis of all of it, I saw a young woman who saw her grandfather hurting. In the case of Donald Harlow was the decedent. He's the gentleman that served in the Navy for 4 years that will be laid to rest tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at Middle Tennessee State Veteran Cemetery. I think this was initiated by a granddaughter that listened to her grandfather in pain and suffering and listened to his concern that there would be nobody there for his brother. And based on that, she threw something out. I don't know that she ever anticipated that she would see the incredible warmth and love and compassion that she saw. And so now I think that has freaked them out a little bit. And that's okay too. I'm planning on going. I'm planning on staying at a respectful distance. I'm planning on honoring one of our own who served his country. And honestly, the spirit of what I am trying to do goes above and beyond the name of the individual involved. And I don't say that through any disrespect. I don't mean to disrespect that person. I don't mean to disrespect Donald Harlow. But no matter the name, if you've ever been to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, because there are multiples there now, part of the reason that it is such a special place, part of the reason that it is such a reverent place is because we don't know who they are. Because it doesn't matter who they are. Beyond their name, even beyond the life that they lived, the spirit in which they served is what we pay respect for. And the recognition that without men like Donald Harlow, without men and women who put on the uniform and stand the line, without those at the tomb of the unknown soldiers, then we would not have a United States of America. And so there should always be, regardless of whether we know their names or not, there should always be people there that are paying respect, and there always will be, so long as we're aware. And so the outpouring of support is a part of my love of this country and my love of this state. And so it almost grows beyond the individual into the spirit that commands us, at least for me. I mean, there's no question. When I read this story, I was like, okay, I'm going. And that has nothing to do with knowing or not knowing the family. It has everything to do with understanding how this country continues in the fashion that we want to see it continue. 615-737-9986. If you would like to continue on the show with your telephone call, you are invited to do so. Speaking of standing the line, I'm reminded of that famous speech in A Few Good Men, standing. I suggest you grab a weapon and stand the post. Did you see what Joe Biden is doing on his way out of the White House? If it weren't enough that Joe Biden has decided to attempt a ban on all offshore drilling, which Donald Trump says he will immediately overturn, and if you want to take him to court, you can take him to court. I've got that clip later on. In the aftermath of his demand that we carve out 264,000 acres in Nevada where you can't do any more leasing of the drilling lands out there. Now, Joe Biden has decided to, in effect, close down Guantanamo Bay. Joe Biden very quietly and conveniently has redirected individuals who were being housed at Guantanamo Bay to other locations around the globe, effectively shutting down Guantanamo Bay as a way for us to keep terrorist interests in custody that want to do America harm. And some of those terrorist interests have done some of the worst harm imaginable to the United States of America, to include connections with and complicity with those that committed the atrocious acts of 9/11. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment. 615-737-9986. We continue to monitor the state funeral of President Jimmy Carter. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There are a lot of diagnoses out there, and there is a pill for just about everything, but not every diagnosis is accurate, and not all pills are good for you. Friends, it's Matt Murphy. When you get a diagnosis for your European automobile repair, get a second opinion before you make a major decision. Eurofix is the home for second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars to repair your European vehicle from a, quote, diagnosis, go to Eurofix. It can not only save your vehicle's life, but it can actually save you a tremendous amount of stress and a tremendous amount of money. Life's too short to get stressed out and get angry. Be happy. Go to Eurofix. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute, no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. Not a high-pressure sales tactic, just Eurofix telling you what is ailing your vehicle and how to fix it. Get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you'll never pay dealer prices. They have locations in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. 844-EUROFIX. 844-EUROFIX, or visit MyEurofix.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to MyEurofix.com. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville.
We're freezing and bracing for snow in Middle Tennessee, while in California, evacuations underway due to a fast-moving wildfire. And in Vegas, investigators just updated the investigation into the New Year's Day Cybertruck bomb attack. That's coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much. Ken Weaver's in the newsroom, News Closet B, we call it. Chris Weber's behind the glass. Me, I'm Matt Murphy. Hello. Thank you for being out there, whatever you might be doing in your automobiles, your homes, your places of business. We appreciate your time today. Join us, 615-737-9986 if you so desire. The phone line's always open. The super text line always open as well. A lot of you responding to the commentary about Arlington National Cemetery. And yes, Arlington National Cemetery is one of the most special places on earth. And I'm so appreciative of my ability to go there, my ability to see a funeral there, and to know that I have loved ones that are interred in the columbarium as well as on the burial grounds. David writes in and says, I'm the son of a Navy and Vietnam vet. I had the honor of laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknowns when I was in third grade on a D.C. trip. If you've never seen the Changing of the Guard, it is an incredible, somber, and respectful tribute to the manner in which we treat our fallen, inasmuch as we will never forsake them, nor will we never not watch over them. And the respectful nature of the Changing of the Guard is just an incredible event that if you've never seen it, you need to see it. Every step, every movement means something, and every moment of the ceremony is dedicated to those 400 and some odd thousand that reside on the property at Arlington. And then you consider the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that lay elsewhere in our national cemeteries around the United States of America and around the world. And you start thinking about the totality of the spirit of what they're doing, and that is to watch over those and never forsake those who did the ultimate for our nation, that is to serve and in some cases to lose their life as a result of service. That said, sadly, Joe Biden is not honoring that in any appreciable way in his final days in the Oval Office. The Biden administration yesterday announced the transfer of 11 Yemeni detainees, including 2 former bodyguards of Osama bin Laden, being held at the U.S. Naval Base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, to Oman. Oman has agreed to resettle them amid steps to reduce the population at the military facility. All of the men were captured in the aftermath of September 11, 2001. They were held for more than 2 decades. The United States of America appreciates the willingness of the government of Oman and other partners to support ongoing U.S. efforts focused on responsibly reducing the detainee population and ultimately closing the Guantanamo Bay facility. That, according to the Defense Department. The White House referred questions to the Department of Defense. Of course, the Department of Defense then doesn't answer any of the questions. That's how the Biden White House works. Yeah? The 11 detainees, this would be hell on earth if I did this. They list them. Chris Weber, as executive producer of this radio show, I would suggest that you read off these names.
Sure. Just give me a couple of weeks to prepare.
There's a lot of Muhammads. I mean, I'm not trying to be insulting. There's just a lot of Muhammads.
First or last?
Middle, in the middle, some first, some, well, here, I'll tell you what, I'll do it. Uthman Abdid Al-Rahim Muhammad Uthman. That's one name. Moath Harnza Ahmed Alawi Khalid Ahmed Qasim. That's another name. You know, I like to say, I was doing this during my midday show. For those of you that weren't able to catch it during the midday, I can't pronounce names. I mean, I'm just awful at it. And so typically if I encounter a name that I've never seen before or can't pronounce, I just say great googly moogly like Grady used to do at Sanford and Son. So great googly moogly. I can't pronounce any of these names. It doesn't matter. They're all terrorists. All of these individuals are alleged to be al-Qaeda fighters. Some of them were a part of the security detail for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. In 2016, a declassified document said that one of the individuals made several statements that suggested that he continues to maintain an extremist mindset. I would think that most of these individuals continue to maintain an extremist mindset. A 2020 declassified file said that that one of the individuals was Osama bin Laden's bodyguard, trained in Afghanistan before the September 11th attacks. He was associated with an aborted 9/11-style hijacking in Southwest Asia led by al-Qaeda. The transfer was carried out as a part of an early morning secret operation days before Muhammad, Guantanamo's most notorious prisoner, was scheduled to plead guilty to plotting the September 11th attacks that killed 3,000 in exchange for a life sentence rather than a death penalty trial. That deal gives Muhammad and co-conspirators Walid bin Atash and Mustafa al-Hawazi. It's been heavily criticized, rightly so, because it's soft on these individuals that were primarily responsible for the death of far more than 3,000 because people have died as a result of 9/11 in the subsequent years. The move has been in the works for about 3 years. 3 years after initial plans to conduct the transfer in October of 2023 faced opposition. In other words, they're doing this at the last moment in the dead of night for the purpose of what? For the purpose, I mean, what's the purpose? What's the goal? Because I don't know. I'm not asking a rhetorical. I sincerely do not understand why they would choose to do this outside of the fact that they simply want to close down Guantanamo Bay as a place where the United States of America can get our handle around terrorism on our planet without having to put them through the judicial system in the American justice system where they would be afforded, frankly, rights that they don't deserve as non-Americans and as terrorists. The transfer, for those asking, leaves 6 individuals being held at Guantanamo Bay, 2 convicted and sentenced inmates. And so there's 6 never charged men, 2 convicted, and 7 others charged with the 2011 attack, or 2001 attacks, I should say. So that would be a total of 13, 14, 15 individuals remain at Guantanamo Bay. Most of those at Guantanamo are from Yemen. Yet another example of how the Democrats and the Biden administration don't take this seriously. This on the heels of what happened in New Orleans, by the way. As if we do not continue to face a threat from radical Islam. Obviously, we do. It is 4:30 on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And while we're freezing and bracing for snow here in Middle Tennessee, people are being forced out of their homes by wind-driven wildfire in the foothills of the Palisades, a Los Angeles coastal neighborhood.
Getting very dark here just with the amount of smoke. Fire engines are trying to do their best to prevent this fire from reaching all the homes scattered in this area. And you may ask me, well, where's the closest home? It's really hard to tell because of that smoke right now.
That's Josh Haskell reporting. Right now in our nation's capital, the new House just passed the Laken Riley Act, the first piece of federal legislation approved by the 119th Congress. The bill named after a nursing student who was killed by an illegal immigrant while jogging on the University of Georgia's campus. Investigators in Las Vegas piecing together more details of the New Year's Day Cybertruck bomb attack on the Trump Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. At a press conference today, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Assistant Sheriff Dory Corrin says the suspect's digital footprint shows he used the ChatGPT artificial intelligence program to help plan.
He looks at trying to figure out the amount of explosives needed in order to conduct the explosion he was looking to cause.
And the man who police say set fire to a woman on a New York City subway train last month has entered a plea. Sherry Preston.
By all accounts, the crime was horrific.
The suspect used what we believe to be a lighter to ignite the victim's clothing, which became fully engulfed in a matter of seconds.
NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch on December 22nd. Now, the suspect accused of doing that has pleaded not guilty to murder and arson charges. Prosecutors say Sebastian Zapata is a Guatemalan citizen who was deported in 2018 but slipped back into the country. Subway crime is actually down in New York City, but Tisch says riders simply don't feel safe.
And in our nation's capital, a cannon salute as the body of former President Jimmy Carter arrived. The 39th U.S. president will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol until Thursday, when his funeral takes place at the National Cathedral there in D.C. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Picked up a new accident, 440 eastbound, right after Nolensville Pike on the North Loop. Still got that crash blocking the right lane, 65 northbound before the 2465 split. And in Antioch, a crash reported by police, Murfreesboro Pike, just west of Hamilton Church Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy. And if you want to feel better and look better in 2025, I have a way for you to do it. If you want your hair to be fuller and thicker this year, I went to We Grow Hair, and we got my hair going again. It was the biggest confidence booster ever. So you can do this as well. All right, so We Grow Hair is right here in Nashville, and they've been around Nashville for the last 30 years, and they have proven solutions that work. No one else in Tennessee has the ARTIS robotic FUE procedure and the multi-unit hair grafting procedure. These are transplants that give you 2 times more hair in one procedure than you get from the other guys, and they're guaranteed results. These are guaranteed results. And fast 45-minute laser and PRP treatments for men and for women. Backed by the only company that I would trust to help my thinning crown, and that is We Grow Hair. This year, you can look better, you can feel better about yourself, you can restore your hair. Go to WeGrowHair.com and find out how they can assist you, or call today for an appointment. Tell them I sent you. 615-376-6010. 615-376-6010. Call for that free consultation right now to We Grow Hair and PAI Medical. Friends, training is crucial to anything that you want to do well. You know, if you buy golf clubs, that's nice, but if you don't go out and get on the range and train with them or use them with regularity, you're not going to be able to play golf that well. The same thing goes for gun ownership. And the Shoot270.com indoor ranges, they offer you no excuse as to why you should not get trained up to make sure that you're as proficient as possible in 2025, the new year. I have an exciting bargain for you as well. It's kind of a great deal for you. It's just a little give back from the Glock store and the Shoot270.com indoor ranges to you. When you book a shooting session at Shoot270.com this month, all month long in the month of January, you get to shoot a full auto H&K suppressed MP5 just for mentioning the name of the Matt Murphy Show, or my name, Matt Murphy. That's a $50 value just for saying you heard about it on the Matt Murphy Show. I appreciate you doing so. The right way to train is with a personal instructor in a private shooting room. Now's a great month to do it. Friends, if you've been putting this off, if you had a lot of things to do over the holidays, why not get back to the range today with an incredible, incomparable shooting session at Shoot270.com. Only in Nashville and only at the one and only place that I would train, the Glock store. Minutes away from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. It's the one and only Glock store. Gulf of America. The Gulf of America, baby. That's according to Donald J. And Donald Trump said, well, I'll tell you, listen to the man himself say it.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
I mean, he says these things, and the media freaks out, and Donald Trump is a master at all of this, and I love it. I mean, why not? Gulf of America. Let's go. I'm ready for it. I am absolutely ready for it. In the meantime, Meta, and many of you use Meta. You call it Facebook, but they now call it Meta. So this is just a delicious story that I want to get into, and I'll get into more of what Donald Trump said earlier today in a moment, and we're monitoring. We continue to monitor the state funeral of President Jimmy Carter, the 39th president of the United States of America. Meta is ending its fact-checking program. In other words, Meta's fact-checking program doesn't work, isn't working, is ridiculous, is a suppression of freedom of speech or freedom of perspective. And so they are lifting restrictions on speech in an effort to, quote, restore free expression along their platforms, to include Facebook, Instagram, and all of the other Meta. What are the other Meta platforms? Do you know?
I don't know. Facebook, Instagram. That's all I know.
Threads.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, Ken Weaver.
But I thought that was part of Instagram, wasn't it? Or is it separate?
Yeah, it's still Meta.
I mean, yeah, it's under the. I think it's.
They got their little 3D goggle glass headset thing too. I guess that's part of Meta.
I guess that's. Do you do any of it? No. You don't do any of that?
I mean, I have a Facebook account and an Instagram account, but I rarely ever use it.
Man, I wish I was you. One of these days, I'm going to be you when I grow up. I tell you what, if I didn't, if I didn't do this, I'd be off all of it.
Yeah,
because I think it takes you away from real life. And I appreciate all of you on social media platforms, and I get some enjoyment out of it, but I don't know that the enjoyment that we get from it is worth what it takes away from our everyday life.
I agree.
You know, so one way or the other, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, as Ken Weaver notes, and all of the rest of the Meta platforms, they're admitting that their current content moderation practices have, quote, gone too far. Mark Zuckerberg is apparently found Jesus, so to speak, as my grandma would say it. We're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms, he said. More specifically, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes. Wait for it now. Similar to X. How about that? Remember when all of these pointy-headed, pencil-necked liberals told us that when Elon Musk bought X and he committed to freedom of expression on that platform, and it has some restrictions. I mean, obviously, you can't go on the platform and start screaming about firing a crowded theater or, threatening individuals or threatening groups of individuals. If you do so, you'll get booted. There are rules of service. However, you're not going to be monitored or limited based on your perspective or point of view or based on being nasty to other people. And we were told by all of these liberal minds that this would be the end of that social media platform that seemed fairly influential prior to Elon Musk buying it. It has only become more influential in the aftermath of Elon buying it. Well, now, Meta's chief global affairs officer, Joel Kaplan, says, this is a great opportunity for us to reset the balance in favor of free expression. As Mark says in his video, what we're doing is getting back to our roots and free expression. Meta's third-party fact-checking program was put in place after the 2016 election. It had been used to, quote, manage content and misinformation on the platforms, largely due to, quote, political pressure. So they're now admitting that everything that we thought about Facebook, particularly during COVID, was true. And if you did not get suppressed during COVID, I don't think you were trying hard enough. Because just about everybody and their brother had somebody sending something to them, some muckety-muck higher up send something to you. Oh, you have violated our terms of service. Because what? Because I mentioned ivermectin? Kaplan, according to Fox News, said we went to independent third-party fact checkers. It has become clear there's too much political bias in what they choose to fact check because basically they fact check whatever they see on the platform. Kaplan told Fox News that Meta is ending that completely and will replace it with a community notes model similar to the one used on X. And if you're not familiar with the X platform, I mean, it's like a bunch of people in a room together and folks are talking with one another. And when somebody says something that is blatantly false or is provably false, the other people in the room say, hey, wait, that's not true. And if enough people community note something that is said on the X platform, then you get a note. It doesn't get taken down. You just get a note. Hey, what they just said isn't true, and here's why. Here's some links that you need to go to find out what we're talking about, which seems like the way to do it. My favorite part of this story, my favorite aspect of this story, is how the fact checkers have responded. So there's a post, I'm pulling it up right now. There's an article that was written today at 1:29 Central Standard Time. The headline, Meta fact checkers call an emergency meeting after Mark Zuckerberg pulls the plug. Meta is ending fact-checking partnerships and shifting toward crowdsourced moderation tools. The International Fact-Checking Network called an emergency meeting after the announcement. Meta's decision affects the financial sustainability of fact-checking operations and organizations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So immediately I said to myself, is this real? Is there an actual international fact-checking network? Well, in fact, there is. I pulled up their website. The International Fact-Checking Network @ Poynter, empowering fact-checkers worldwide. What is the International Fact-Check? I'm sorry, it's so hard not to laugh. What is the International Fact-Checking Network? The International Fact-Checking Network, or IFCN, was launched in 2015 to bring together the growing community of fact-checkers around the world. The network advocates for information integrity in the global fight against misinformation and supports fact-checkers through networking, capacity building, and collaboration. Is it starting to sound like Bravo Sierra to you? Does it sound like BS? Because it is. IFCN's network reaches more than 170 fact-checking organizations worldwide through advocacy, training, and global events. Our team monitors trends in the fact-checking trends in the fact-checking community, to offer resources to fact-checkers, contribute to public discourse, and to provide support for new projects and initiatives that advance accountability in journalism. And so you look on their page, that's their Who We Are section. The first link on their page says grant opportunities. For fact-checkers seeking fellowships or funding to launch your next big idea, click here. There has been a cottage industry amongst the liberal, pointy-headed nerds on social media platforms that they are making tremendous amounts of money from organizations like Meta, and I'm certain plenty of others, running around and subverting your ability to express yourself freely on social media platforms. In other words, I don't believe they're interested in fact-checking whatsoever. Facts are facts. And it's up to each of us individually to figure out if we're going to believe certain things that are presented online. Look, y'all just use the brain that God gave you. If something sounds too good to be true or smells fishy, it probably is on both fronts. I don't need a team of fact-checkers from the IFCN to tell me that, especially when it seems to be an organization that is solely designed in a very woke way to bilk money out of organizations like Facebook because they are stupid enough to give it to them. Do y'all think Mark Zuckerberg's a bad guy?
I think he's a weird guy.
I mean, he's a weirdo. I mean, but wouldn't you be? Wouldn't all?
I mean, you kind of have to be.
I mean, I understand. I understand it's easy for people to say he's evil and he's awful and he's horrible and he's everything. But if you were 20 years old and I handed you $1 billion, or 23 years old and I handed you $4 billion, I don't know how much he's worth now, but it's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, you would almost have to be. I mean, he started off as a nerd, and he and some of his nerd buddies came up with this way to meet girls, I suppose. I mean, don't you think that's in that?
That's probably.
I've never seen the movie.
Yeah, I haven't either.
They were going to meet chicks.
Is that what they were going to do, Ken?
Yeah.
What do we want to call it? Facebook. Well, that sounds stupid. Well, let's just call it that anyway. Well, it's better than MySpace. I mean, if you were back in the day, children, gather around your radios. Back in the day, back in the 20-aughts, if you were in a garage band or 15 years old, you were on MySpace.
I was on MySpace.
Well, you were not.
I was. I really was. It was the first social media thing before Facebook and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, what do you remember it was? Because I was never on there.
It was, I don't really remember much about it other than the fact that it allowed you to customize your page. So like I learned to do basic coding to change the colors and the fonts and all that stuff, graphics and music. You could put music on your page. So
it was basically a mechanism by which you could build your own web page, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. And then it was similar to Facebook, where you would talk amongst your circle of friends or whatever. I think so. If I remember right.
So Facebook was just a better version of MySpace, and it kind of killed it.
Yeah, for the most part.
Well, good for Facebook. I mean, obviously, Facebook has served its purpose, and I don't know that it was for the betterment of the world necessarily, but I don't know if Mark – I asked the question, and a lot of you are responding on social media that he's not a good guy, and I get that. And yes, the International Fact Checkers Network, which is basically the Fact Checkers Union, as I would describe them, they got canned, and their biggest client, probably one of their only clients, was Meta, and so they now have an emergency meeting that they've called because where are we going to get our money? Where are we going to grift from now, say the fact checkers, when really all they're doing is subverting certain viewpoints that they deem to be undesirable. That said, if Zuckerberg's getting religion now with regard to freedom of expression and freedom of speech, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Most of us use some version of Facebook or Instagram. Most of us use some version of a Meta-based product. And if it is a more freedom-loving product because of its belief in freedom of speech, now, if you're late to the party, as long as you're bringing a covered dish, I say welcome to the party, Mark Zuckerberg. 615-737-9986, 51 after the hour. It can be hard to find someone that you trust when it comes to large home repairs. I understand that. It can be especially hard if you are under pressure. Let's talk about that because it's cold outside right now. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, they understand that. So I want you to grab a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper. I have a telephone number for you. I want you to write this telephone number down and put it where you keep those important numbers. Yeah, sure, your junk drawer is fine. Or maybe put it up on the fridge. If you got a little magnet, just stick this number under there. Write down Jeff Eddy, Efficient Heating and Cooling. Here's the number, 615-784-4424. 784-4424. You might not need them now. You might not need them tomorrow. But if your heater goes out, who are you going to call? If your heater's not ready, you call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Allow him to send one of his qualified certified technicians out to you. They do not charge you overtime rates on nights or weekends because they don't believe in any of that. Your heater doesn't know what time it is, so why should you have to pay more? But they will diagnose and solve your problem with your heater. And if it comes time, and sadly it will come time, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They're ready to recommend the right unit for you for replacement. EfficientHVAC.net or 615-784-4424.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hear a frightened mother describe escaping a fast-moving wildfire coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I don't know if you've seen some of these fires coming out of California.
That's pretty scary.
It's very scary. I reposted something from James Woods is a great follow on social media. He's a great follow on the X Machine. And I posted something from him. He abandoned his home. He had to evacuate his home because the fires were getting too close. And in the midst of that, he took a short video. You can find it at Matt Murphy's show, where they are dumping, fire retardant and water or whatever it is they're dumping over these fires. But it's not having a lot of impact because of the high rate of wind. And that's just a scary, scary situation over there. We continue to monitor that. Ken Weaver will have the latest coming up in the next couple of minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 4317 says, nothing about Facebook is better than MySpace.
I bet you it doesn't have Farmtown.
You can't go home again. And I feel like maybe 4317. I'm just saying maybe you have some false memories going on about MySpace.
I can't remember it well enough to say, yeah, Facebook's worse or whatever. I just don't recall.
I mean, Facebook has been ever evolving during its evolution. I mean, Facebook is worth billions of dollars. Look, I want to try to give Zuckerberg the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was just led down the wrong path and he recognizes that now. Facebook was originally a hot or not, only available on college campuses around the country. Maybe so. I don't know. Remember that hot or not thing where you would vote?
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably still around somewhere. Look, I'll trust him as far as I can throw him, but this is good news, in my opinion. If he is truly ending this fact-checking nonsense and he's opening it up to more free speech is always better. I think Robbie Starbuck will agree with me, and he's coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Talk about his latest victory in the war against DEI. That is next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang in.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. And while we're freezing and bracing for snow here in Middle Tennessee, people are running for their lives in California. Wind-driven wildfires forcing evacuations in the foothills of the Palisades. They're in the Los Angeles coastal neighborhood. Megan Garman had to get out of her home with her daughter. Says she's never seen anything like it.
Never. And I've lived in Malibu my whole life, and I've seen tons of fires. This is nothing. I'm scared for my life. It's terrifying.
The Palisades fire, which started hours ago, is already 800 acres, growing in winds that are gusting up to 30 miles per hour. One state over, investigators piecing together more details of the New Year's Day Cybertruck bomb attack on the Trump Hotel on the Vegas Strip. At a press conference today, Assistant Sheriff Dory Corrin said the suspect's digital footprint shows he used the ChatGPT artificial intelligence program to help plan parts of the attack, like how to set off the explosives with a gun.
The research on ChatGPT determined that he needed at least 2,000 feet per second velocity on the firearm in order to be able to actually cause a full detonation of all the explosives he had.
Medical debt will no longer appear on credit reports under a new rule finalized by the Biden administration today. The move to ban reporting of medical debt to credit bureaus, which can impact your ability to get a loan for a house, car, or small business, will remove some $49 billion from the credit reports of 15 million Americans, could raise credit scores by an average of 20 points. And right now in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 says the Wilson County School Board is considering putting volunteer parents on school buses to help drivers when kids act up or get into fights. Some members say middle schoolers are causing the most problems. This is board member Dr. Beth Myers at last night's meeting.
These bus drivers and even our teachers are having to put up with a lot of stuff that they should not have to put up with.
If volunteer parents are used in Wilson County schools buses, They would not be allowed to put hands on kids. Just let the driver know when there are problems and which ones are the troublemakers. Right now in Nashville, the Tennessee Titans front office making some moves, firing general manager Rand Carthon after a second consecutive last place season in the division. And entertainment news, Peter Yarrow has died. This is probably his most famous work with the group Peter, Paul, and Mary, Puff the Magic Dragon, which he wrote based on a poem by the then 19-year-old author and filmmaker Lenny Lipton. Often thought to be about marijuana use, Yarrow insisted it was an ode to leaving childhood behind to become an adult. A representative confirms Yarrow died of bladder cancer. He was 86. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Men of Valor. 90% of the men who go into prison are going to at some point come out of prison. And the question becomes, what type of men do you want re-entering society? That's where Men of Valor comes in. They understand the power of God. They understand the power of God's people. They understand the power of discipling those individuals in the system that they find themselves in, because they can turn these men's lives around and, by extension, create better communities as a result. Will you join us in helping set these captives free and making our community a better and safer place to live? Because if these men come out as Men of Valor graduates, they're doing so with it's so much less of a chance that they will offend again. As a matter of fact, they turn a 50% recidivism rate into a recidivism rate of just over 10%. That's an incredible rate of return. These are good, productive members of our community now, not committing crimes. Men of Valor can be found at movministry.com. They need job partners, Bible study teachers, and mentors that disciple men in their everyday lives and in the prison system itself. movministry.com to find out more. Give as you can and volunteer, if you will, to Men of Valor.
All right, police say the crash on 440 eastbound after Nolensville Pike, that's at exit 6. And then in Antioch, police on the scene of a crash, Murfreesboro Pike west of Hamilton Church Road. North Nashville, police reporting a crash, Dickerson Pike just south of 65. And then in Hermitage, Old Hickory Boulevard, north of Juarez Drive. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Thank you for being out there. Thank you for listening or watching, if that be what you're doing. Talk TV is up and running. Like and subscribe us. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Brought to you by our friends at US Pest. It's episode 723 of our visits together, and I appreciate every single one of them. Thank you for listening. Halfway home tonight, 7 minutes after 5 o'clock. Hope you're doing well. Dark outside, and it's nasty and windy, and it's going to get worse as the week goes on. Worse unless you are just snug as a bug in a rug at home awaiting the snowfall that is soon to come to Middle Tennessee. We're going to get, roughly 2 inches, maybe 3 inches, maybe 4 in some places. Don't really know until it gets here. There are too many days between now and then, but that snowfall is expected to come Friday afternoon. We'll be here for you Friday afternoon. You got a four-wheel drive?
Yep.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You might need it.
I hope so.
Come Friday evening. I do too.
I like it.
I love driving in the snow.
I've got an old pair of shoes and some cat litter in the trunk of my Hyundai Elantra.
Throw you a 2x4 in the back, in the trunk, Ken, just in case you get stuck. Put that 2x4 underneath there. Tell them to hit the gas, and you get grip.
Well, that's what I'm going to use that cat litter for.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I thought he was, if he didn't have a toilet to go to, you just use the cat litter. That's what I was thinking.
That can work as well.
I'm going to use a 2x4 for a fire whenever I get stuck in Smyrna.
Just in the middle of 24.
Listen, you go down I-24, you don't need a snowstorm to get stuck. You can get stuck all on your own without weather-related events affecting your travel plans at all.
Maybe there'll be a blanket on that couch.
Real quick before we get to our next guest, this is how you turn an angry listener around. Jim, I love you, but Jim was having none of it. Jim did not like the fact that I was talking about Facebook. Jim, as a matter of fact, said, GTFO, if you know, you know, of here with Facebook, Matt. Next topic. WTN has 100,000 watts and an open mic, and you waste time talking about Zuckerberg, who censored 100 million Americans since 2020, and you act like that POS Zuckerberg still matters? And my response was, like 2 billion people use Facebook. Matt Murphy has an IQ of 15. Big shock, being a Georgia fan. Like, man, we got personal quick.
Low blow.
It was kind of low.
Nasty.
I said, I'm happy to talk about any subject you would like. Just let me know. And 15, wow. Winner, chicken dinner. I mean, come on. Finally, Jim writes, until conservatives control the social media platforms, there's no reason to trust them. And I apologize for my Georgia comment. Thank you for your replies, Matt. You're my favorite WTN host. And I said, you're welcome. Thanks for listening. But then now I want to go back through Jim's comments, because if I'm his favorite, he's talking to me like this. Man.
Need to see what he's saying to everybody else.
Man, Mandis must be getting it rough in the mornings. And so I looked back a little bit, and he was giving Mandis hell for talking about Facebook this morning. Jim, you keep giving us hell. We love you, buddy, and thanks for listening to the show. We love Robbie Starbuck. He is an absolute gem in Tennessee. He's been doing such great work against the DEI movement, and he's been destroying it piece by piece, and we welcome him back to the show. Robbie, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fabulous. Just having a good time. Before we get to DEI and McDonald's, I'm trying to give Zuckerberg the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to say, look, this might be an eye-opening awakening for this guy, that he realizes that all of the censorship that his program and platform and Meta has been engaged in over the last however many years has been wrong-minded, wrong-headed. Should we applaud him, cautiously for doing the right thing here, Robbie?
I would say, if he is being genuine, great. However, I have no reason to trust him at all. Like you said, I wouldn't trust him further than I could throw him, and I'm not sure I even trust him that much. But I will say, there's something to be said for, a man at his age. He's not very old. I think a lot of people forget that. He's not like in his 50s, 60s, 70s. He's still relatively young. He had success at a very young age where he was more impressionable and able to sort of be pressed into certain positions. And as he's become a dad and everything like that, he's gotten very into MMA. And that's a recent event over the last 4 years. And I think he became friends with a group of guys who have veered him a little further to the right than he had ever been or ever been exposed to. So, is it theoretically possible that he's shifting his opinions? Yeah, it's possible. But I think, like anyone, my position would be, all right, prove it. And so this is a good step. And I would say adding Dana White to the board yesterday was a good step. However, I'm going to hold back judgment or any semblance of praise until I see this guy serious over a long-term period of time, because there's another thing that's happening that nobody's talking about, and it's that TikTok is going to be forced to sell off its U.S. arm. I can pretty much guarantee that. And who wants it? I guarantee you Meta wants it. And so is this a play by him to get in the good graces of Trump, because Trump will have an outsized sort of, influence over what direction that all goes? Is he trying to do that so they can get in a good position to buy TikTok? I don't know. Maybe that's what this is really about. And if it is, then this is another underhanded move from him, like he used in the 2020 election when he used his money to, really flip key counties toward Biden. So, I think there's parts of it that are disingenuous, because he kind of pretended in it that, I couldn't do this over the last 4 years because the Democrats were pushing censorship so hard. Well, he helped them win the election in 2020, or at least take the election, depending on where you're at with it. So, in my opinion, what they did was totally nefarious. So, I think we've got to be clear-eyed about it. The other thing I would add in, a fact you don't know about me, Matt. I have very few hobbies. I love my family. I spend all my time with them, or I'm working on flipping these crazy companies and making this country a better place for my kids. However, I do have one hobby. I am a gigantic weather nerd. I have in front of me right now all the models for the 2020. If you have any questions, I'm going to let you in on a secret. My neighbors actually have a nickname for me. They say in another lifetime I would have been a weatherman, and my name, it would have been Robbie Rains.
Robbie Rains.
Yep.
I love it.
You can see that on the news,
yeah,
right?
Sure. So you're generally speaking, are you in like Williamson County? Is that where you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So tell me what's happening in Williamson County Friday, Robbie. Talk to us.
All right, so here's how a lot of it works. So the apps on most of your phones are terrible. I'm going to tell you that straight off the bat. That's why it's pretty much wrong half the time, okay? And that's being gracious to them. The way real weather, modeling works is you've got all these models, and you try to aggregate kind of what the average is. But there's also models that are just awful that I really don't like. So you try to aggregate the ones you trust the most together and see what is the average. What the average tells us is that in Williamson County, for instance, the vast majority are probably going to get somewhere between 2 and 5 inches of snow. And then as you get into Nashville, I'd say there's a line somewhere around Forest Hills before you get to Berry Hill where it'll kind of start to get a little less drastic. So you'll see that number go down to something more like, some models say as low as just under an inch all the way up to 3 or 4 maybe, but it's probably not going to be anywhere near what Williamson County gets. So that's what you'll see Friday. But you'll also want to be careful on those roads. I warned a bunch of friends yesterday, and they didn't listen to me. I said, don't go out tonight. And some of them did, and their cars got all slidey around the roads. And I know Williamson County Sheriff had a heck of a time dealing with all the accidents there were last night. So careful with the ice, and make sure you got those pipes, weatherized and ready to go.
Robbie, I think you and I know each other well enough for me to say this. Just based on what you just said, weather nerd, maybe borderline weather snob. I'm just saying.
It's borderline. I try to tread the line. Okay.
Well, it's good to know that we have you as a resource when we need to know the real scoop. Not these, weather jerks on television, but the real skinny. We can go to Robbie Starbuck for that.
All I'm going to say is my neighbors say that I'm more accurate than the TV.
Wow, I would buy that. I mean, given your rate of success with some of these big-time corporations and companies when it comes to DEI, I'm going to trust that if you put that same type of energy into weather forecasting, you can do anything you wanted to do. And by the way, I'm right there with you. I don't want anybody to be hurt. I don't want anybody to be stuck. I don't want anybody to be anything, but I admit that I become a 13-year-old anytime there's any weather event, like a storm, thunderstorms, even tornadoes. I understand that tornadoes are deadly, and I don't want that for anybody, but I can't help it. I become that kid watching these weather events when they happen.
Well, yeah, I'm just fascinated by the power of nature and God behind it.
Yeah.
I think it's something that, like, in a weird way, take the ocean, for example, the power makes you really kind of take stock of your significance when you realize that the ocean has this power to overpower everything in you so easily. Same thing with things like tornadoes. And so there's something about it that I think is fascinating to people. And so, it sounds totally dorky, but no, I think it's really interesting. I will say the king, though, in this area is still Nash Severe Weather. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Well, I was spoiled because there's a guy down in Birmingham named James Spann. If you don't know James, he is a fascinating character, and he is all in. James Spann, S-P-A-N-N. He is a local guy, but he is nationally and internationally known. He's just a great voice. He doesn't buy into a lot of this climate change nonsense, and he fights back against it, but he is a really, really good resource. That's just a tip from me to you, Robbie. So
he's a good one. I follow him. I follow him on X.
Yeah, he's really good. So another success story, man. Oh man, I mean, it just feels like at some point we're going to have all of these big companies bowing before the altar of begging forgiveness for their DEI and woke policies, and we're done with this, and we put this baby to bed, and we'll have you largely to thank. McDonald's, the latest to announce, even prior to any of your outing of them, that they are eliminating a lot of these DEI policies. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, this one worked quick. We reached out to them last week and we told them, we had our story together and we were going to be coming forward with the story exposing the woke policies and everything that was going on there. And, it worked very fast. Yesterday, the announcement was made. I put the video up, showing all the highlight points of what they're changing. It includes things like this. Most of these Fortune 500 companies, as many of your listeners already know, they have these what they call goals or targets. In reality, they're really hiring racial quotas, right? So you can't say quotas, though, because companies know that quotas are illegal. You absolutely cannot have a racial quota. So what do you have? You have a racial target or a goal that you set, and wouldn't you know it, they always reach those goals. It's just the darndest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but don't call it a quota, okay? So they ended all their goals built around that. And then supplier diversity, this is something a lot of people don't know about, but basically a lot of these companies have these programs called supplier diversity programs, and it gives preferential treatment to suppliers. They can say, I'm a minority. Like if I popped up a company today and I said, I'm Latino, I sell whatever the part is, hire me, I would get preferential treatment against somebody who was saying, no, actually, I'm white and I own this company. That's wrong, and it's clearly something that is discriminatory. And so they've said they are going to end their DEI pledge that was a part of their supplier program, which is fantastic. Similar thing we got Walmart to do. And then they dropped their association with the HRC's Corporate Equality Index, which I've explained before on the show. For those who weren't there for it, is basically, the breeding ground for forcing a lot of the LGBTQ, especially trans agenda stuff into corporate America. So it's the reason why companies bring out the pride flags and the trans flags and why they promote pride events and why they sponsor pride events. All that stuff comes from pleasing the HRC so they can get a 100% score. And to get a 100% score from the HRC, you have to also fund transitions for your employees and their dependents. Who are their dependents? Their children. So these companies have to fund transitions for kids in order to get this 100% HRC score. So that is what we're getting these companies to drop, is this association with the HRC and stop participating in the scoring. And that in itself is huge, because that has been a machine pumping out leftism into corporate America, and we're very pleased with that.
I was doing an interview with someone else earlier today at a radio station out of town. And they asked me about you and your goals and your efforts and they asked me why you were so successful at what you do. And without giving you the answer that I gave, which was a pretty simple answer, and that is that Robbie Starbuck has a platform by which he can expose these companies to the customers that they serve, and he knows when the customers realize what they are doing to manipulate their business organization in a fashion that is inconsistent with their values or beliefs, they're going to walk away from those companies, and the companies know that. And I think that's a fair assessment. But how would you answer that question? Why do you think you've been so successful, Robbie?
I think it's multi-pronged. There's this term that a lot of people use, influencer, right? I used to detest the term, but then I thought about it, more recently, and it's not about how many people follow you. It's about who you're influencing. Who is it that you are getting to open their eyes and see something anew? And I think I have a really special audience in that regard. Collectively across social media, I think I've got somewhere around 1.5 or 1.6 million followers, but they're in different groups. And I think it's a largely awakened group willing to use their wallet as a weapon. And they're also the types of people that go and talk to the folks who don't use social media, which is very critical. So they are themselves sort of organizing around each one of these things in their community, and it pushes this beyond anything I could do by myself. And then another group is, there's some very influential people, that also follow me, whether it be on Wall Street and folks with a lot of money to be able to put their money where their mouth is.
I see you talking to Elon. I see you. Talking to Elon.
Elon Musk, the vice president incoming, Donald Trump Jr., folks like that, they're listening. They're listening, and there's a lot of very critical people behind the scenes that Trump has named to important positions who are having me give them advice. And so, I think that there's a large enough group of people who themselves have massive influence that it goes way beyond me. It's not me. I'm a megaphone for the resentment people have toward the unfairness of all this, right? And so this silent majority that there's been for so long, they feel like it's time to have a voice. And there's still some who feel like the safest way to do that is by empowering somebody like me to be a megaphone for a lot of them. And I've told people so many times, we need to do away with this idea of a silent majority. We need to be vocal. And I think we learned that in this election because, we got here by being silent and allowing a very loud, annoying group of people to run over our country, essentially. But I'd say there's another interesting thing, and I haven't said this to anybody. An executive from one of these companies, a very big one that we flipped recently, and it wasn't McDonald's, it was a different company. They said to me, Robbie, is really interesting. And this is somebody I became friendly with afterward because we had a really good sort of, back and forth as this all went on. And they said, I've got to admit something to you. When this was all going down, our initial impulse was to go after you, in a way that another company hadn't yet. Like we were ready to spend millions and millions of dollars just trash you and figure out any way to go after you. And he said the tough part was, we do the Oppo research, we do all the stuff, and we look at it all and go, none of this stuff is going to stick. And this guy just doesn't seem to care if anybody attacks him. And he said, it's the fact that you don't care and you're always on offense and the fact that you're super boring that makes you effective. And I was like, yeah, there's something to that. I'm kind of a grandpa. I love my family.
You landing the kids and the cows, right? That's
exactly.
That's about it.
I'm stuck with the cows and kids, if I'm not working. So It's like, there's not much to go after. And secondly to that, I think it's also that, I think I've been eminently reasonable with these companies. Like off the record, we talk to the CEOs and folks like that, and I'm very reasonable and rational with them. And I'll tell you this, in many cases, and I've said it before with you, a lot of them have no clue a lot of this stuff is going on, which is a problem they need to be accountable for because they're the heads of these companies. They need to know. But the truth is they didn't know what the hands and feet of the company were doing. And so when I've presented some of the things to them, like I remember one I talked to, I said, you guys are funding these double mastectomies for kids, and they came back and they said, no, we're not. And I said, I can show you right now. Let me text message you this. And I texted them the stuff and they said, there's no way we're doing this. And I said, you've been doing it for 4 years.
Yep.
And he could not believe it.
Yep.
He had no clue the company was doing it. And so it was a shock to them. And, so
hey, Robbie, if you can, I hate to interrupt you. Hold your thought for just a second. We'll finish up on the other side. We got to do this right now. I'm way late. Robbie Starbuck is with us. He is our guest. Another victory in the DEI front with McDonald's saying we're eliminating our DEI program. We'll be back in a moment. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and let's talk for a moment. If you are a gentleman out there in the listening audience about your health, do you have good energy? Are you feeling good even in your middle age, your 40s or your 50s? Well, that's wonderful. Well, what about you guys that aren't feeling as good? Maybe you're low energy and you don't understand why. Might I recommend you the Tennessee Men's Clinic? Yes, they deal with bedroom-related activities, and I understand that's a very personal issue, and it should be a personal matter between you and your healthcare physician, like Tennessee Men's Clinic. However, generalized issues with energy can be the result of T-level loss, and if you've lost T-levels over the course of your life, it's time to get it back. There are many different programs available for you at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. There's 2 locations to serve. One's in Midtown, the other in Cool Springs, and they can assist you right now on getting you back right with the energy levels that you had years ago that you thought you've lost forever. 615-208-9090, 208-9090 for the Tennessee Men's Clinic.
A local grocery chain says store shelves might be light due to distribution delays due to the weather. And hear a mother describe grabbing her child to escape the fast-moving Palisades wildfire in L.A. These stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We have a DEI eliminator and weather expert, Robbie Starbuck, on the line with us, and about a minute or so left before we have to say goodbye. But, Robbie, I apologize for interrupting you there. You were on a roll, and I appreciate it. So what is next? I mean, I know you are always searching for these companies that don't truly represent the values, reflect the values that we love in the United States of America or the values of their customers. What's next?
Well, as always, I'm not going to tell you what's next, but there are many other companies, and there is one we're working on right now that I think is going to be especially. You're going to tell me to come back. I'm going to get invited back. I'm predicting it now. I'm calling my shot. I will say I am totally going to clip that intro you just gave me where it says weather expert, and I'm going to get like one of those audio frames that you can do. It's like a video frame, and I'm going to put that up by the front door so people see I'm a weather expert.
Now, forget DEI. I'm calling you back on Friday to tell us what's going down Friday afternoon as the snow starts falling, man.
All right, I'm in.
All right. Well, listen, we appreciate everything you do. Thank you for your availability to us. I know that your time's so precious and valuable. Hug the wife and kids and the cows, and we'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Will do. See you guys soon. I always love coming on, and you have a fantastic, fantastic audience, even if you do get some mean emails.
Well, it's all good. It's all in good. Look, haters are motivators. Robbie Starbuck, everybody, 31 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. We're bracing for snow here in Middle Tennessee later this week. Channel 4's Danielle Ledbetter says Nashvillians have been stocking up.
Kroger actually told us that distribution from their Louisville warehouse, it may cause some delays to some of their stores right here in the Midstate, and that is because of weather. And because of some of those delays, they said it may affect some of the things on the shelves and their availability for shoppers.
Channel 4 says they reached out to Publix, but as of 5 o'clock had not heard back. Much different weather in Los Angeles, where evacuation orders are out due to wildfire racing through the Palisades neighborhood overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Megan Jarman had to flee her home with her daughter so quickly she doesn't even know where she's supposed to go.
Well, the smoke just got really bad, so I just started packing up all of our stuff, and we got in the car to go. And then all the cars were abandoned, so I had nowhere to go. So I just had to get out of my car and start walking. The smoke is so bad. I have no idea where we're going.
Palisades fire, which started hours ago, is already 800 acres, growing in winds that are gusting up to 30 miles per hour. One state over, investigators in Las Vegas are piecing together more details of the New Year's Day Cybertruck bomb attack on the Trump Hotel on the Vegas Strip. At a press conference today, Las Vegas Police Assistant Sheriff Dory Corrin said a document found on the suspect's phone lists his grievances.
There's mentions of political and social and cultural issues to include criticism of the current administration. He also does write in there that he was super high on weed and drinking, which we are still working to confirm.
Authorities say they have clear evidence that the suspect used ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, to help plan his attack, like trying to figure out the amount of explosives needed in order to conduct the explosion he was looking to cause. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right. Looks like the interstates are still pretty much clear outside of the usual brake tapping, but we do have right now near the airport a crash partially blocking the off-ramp to Donaldson Pike from I-40 eastbound. And in Franklin, the left shoulder is blocked by a crash 65 southbound approaching Exit 61. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
New year, new you. Are you experiencing pain in 2025? Are you tired of it, and are you ready for a solution? I have said solution for you. If you are in pain, it's time to call the Dr. Gill Center for back, neck, and chronic pain relief located in Franklin. Whether it's back pain, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain, wherever it hurts, all of it can be treated naturally with no needles and no downtime. That's what it's all about. Obviously, they're a chiropractic care center, but much, much more than that. They have the Class 5 laser system, the red light therapy, and the spinal decompression that works, and it prevents the need to pop pills to prevent the pain. You don't have to worry about injecting yourself with needles to block the pain, and certainly don't have to consider surgery. Let's find a pain solution the natural way with the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Make the call that so many others have made to 615-882-4838. 882-4838. I am not only a spokesperson, I'm a patient of the Dr. Gill Center, and I take it from me. They got me pain-free, and they can do it with you as well. It's the Dr. Gill Center. Call today. It's true. We do blame Canada. Now Donald Trump wants to co-opt. He spoke about this earlier today, and it was a far more serious, invested conversation than he had previously had. Now, maybe that's just his trolling of the mainstream media. Who knows? We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Also, House lawmakers passed legislation this afternoon requiring federal agents to detain illegal immigrants suspected of committing nonviolent crimes. It's amazing that this wasn't the case earlier, but it apparently wasn't. And so the Laken Riley Act had to be passed. I'm going to talk to you about that in just a moment as well. Plus your telephone call, 615-737-9986. But now it is time to turn our attention to, sadly, we have a lot of people in this country and around this world that don't know their behinds from a woven basket. And those people need to be called out with a fair amount of regularity. We're going to do this at this time every day on the Matt Murphy Radio Show at 39 after the hour. It's a segment we call Nincompoops in the News. That's right. It is, if you missed yesterday's premiere offering of Nincompoops in the News, it's an opportunity for Chris Weber. Hello, Chris.
Oh, hi.
Ken Weaver. Hello, Mr. Weaver.
Good evening, boys. Yes.
And Matt Murphy, yours truly, to identify storylines that perhaps you've not yet heard about that involve, well, dare I say, nincompoopery.
Is that a word?
That is a word. It's a word now.
No, okay.
Yeah, sure. And I try to be fair-minded in all of this. So we didn't talk about this, but I need to talk about it regarding my story today.
Okay.
And this is our segment. It's not my segment. It's our segment, man. This is our show and our segment.
All right.
And so I feel like we need some consensus.
All righty.
I feel like, much like the Darwin Awards. Now, the Darwin Awards are offered exclusively to those that lose their life in the furtherance of human evolution. Right?
Yeah.
In order to get a Darwin Award, somebody has to die. So I don't want to get into the death stories necessarily, but I have one that it's really not necessarily about the death of people. I tell you what, I'll go first.
All right.
As a way to illustrate what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because I don't know how you can call these people anything other than nincompoops, considering the amount of times that we've seen this go on. 2 men were found deceased inside of the landing gear compartment of a JetBlue airplane in South Florida after a flight arrived from New York City late Monday. This is yesterday. The discovery was made at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport during the routine post-flight maintenance inspection. The company said, at this time, the identities of the individuals and the circumstances surrounding how they accessed the aircraft remain under investigation. Deputies in the Broward County Sheriff's Office responded at around 11:30 at night and pronounced both dead at the scene. Once again, the identities of the 2 people unknown. It's certainly heartbreaking and tragic. The Broward County Medical Examiner's Office is performing autopsies to determine the cause of death. The aircraft operated Flight 1801 from New York's John F. Kennedy International, according to JetBlue, to the airport in Fort Lauderdale. In other words, yet another example of people accessing the wheel well of the landing gear, thinking, why do people think, these are nincompoops. Why do people think that that's okay?
Yeah, I don't know.
That you're going to be all right.
Like you just go to nap.
Yeah, you just hang on to the wheel there, take a little nap, and you'll be just fine, and all will be well. When you get to 30,000 feet, here's what you don't have anymore. Oxygen.
Can't breathe.
Can't breathe.
A little chilly, I would imagine, as well.
I would think that it's a bit nippy at 30,000 feet in the air. Yeah. These are 2 nincompoops. Sadly, deceased nincompoops, but nincompoops nonetheless.
Just a quick Google search. Can you fly in the wheel well of a plane? I think you would get all the answers that you need to go, you know what, I think I'll find another way.
I mean, and don't, I assume that there's an example in the course of human history of someone surviving this somehow miraculously.
Yeah, it seems like a young boy did it maybe, 10 or 15 years ago.
Why does Hawaii come to mind?
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
If that's the case, that is the exception, not the rule, and it is the very rare exception. Trust me. If you're going out to B&A tonight, planning on getting up on in one of those wheel wells, I hope you're listening to this story. Turn around. Don't die. Don't get in the wheel well.
No. You're better off just hitchhiking.
Yes. No question.
Just not along I-24.
Mr. Weaver, with that in mind, you're an nincompoop, sir.
Okay, this actually happened in November, but I still think it's nincompoop worthy. It's from NBC Los Angeles. Police arrest naked man living in crawl space of El Sereno home of a 93-year-old woman after she and her family had reported hearing strange noises for weeks. Ricardo Silva, son-in-law of the 93-year-old woman, says it was usually late at night and we just chucked it off to animals being under the house. However, on this particular night, Silva said the noise got louder. The noises were kind of like knocking. It was kind of like as my wife was walking, they were kind of knocking back from under the house. So she says, something's wrong. Family members at the home called the police, and when they arrived, they found a naked man in the crawl space under the home. He has since been identified as 27-year-old Isaac Betancourt. He refused to leave. He wasn't scared of the dogs. And the first 2 attempts at tear gas didn't fish him out.
Wow.
He wasn't coming out of there. The crawl space itself is only about 2 feet high, but it stretches under the entire home with 3 entryways. And the family believes he used at least one of them to come and go where they wouldn't see him. It's a bizarre thing, but it's not probably uncommon, in this day and age, Silva said. People are looking for shelter. The family says they're going to be securing that crawl space to prevent this from ever happening again.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And so no word on why he decided not to have any clothes?
Yeah, no word on why he was naked. That might have been why he was looking for shelter.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe he couldn't find some britches.
It was a little warm in that crawl space.
You would think in the grand scheme of things, clothing would come before shelter.
What do you think, Sarge? Should we use the tear gas? Yeah, send it in.
Maybe just give that fella offer him some pants and he'll come out on his own. You think? That's a nincompoop.
Yep.
Certainly. Mr. Weber.
All right, mine's a couple guys, because does that qualify? I mean, they're together.
Oh yeah,
they're
a group of nincompoops.
Oh yeah.
Well, they call that a covey of nincompoops.
So this one involves a couple of Homeland Security agents, special agents that were investigating illegal narcotics trafficking. Well, these 2 gentlemen, Nicholas Kendall and David Cole, have been arrested on charges of selling illicit drugs. So just to recap quickly, they were both investigating illegal narcotics trafficking, and now they have been arrested for narcotics trafficking, essentially.
Huh.
Yeah, the FBI apparently launched this investigation back in October after an informant's lawyer contacted the U.S. attorney in Utah and said that these 2 gentlemen had requested him to participate in some potentially unlawful acts, and they were arrested 3 weeks apart, and they each are facing felony drug distribution conspiracy charges, as well as a charge of conspiracy to convert property of the U.S. government for profit. So essentially, they were seizing drugs in these drug busts and then reselling them.
Rolling them over and just selling them.
The FBI says between $195,000 and $300,000 was made through their schemes.
Wow.
This was just over the course of 2 years, from 2022 to 2024.
That's the problem. These guys never know when to get out, right? If they are successful, they just, they're nincompoops.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They're nincompoops. Well, there's some nincompoops. Those are 3 nincompoops. You can vote on the Super Text line as to who you believe has the best nincompoop of the day. We're keeping a tally. Ken Weaver's already one up on us. You won yesterday, Weaver.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you knew that or not. But
Boomer Sooner.
There you go. Well, you got to win some. An honorable, I guess so. An honorable mention nincompoop comes to us from a story out of December of this year where, have y'all ever seen the movie? If this were an actual attempt to steal money, it would have made the cut. But because it was actually it was a test run approved by the company, I couldn't include it in nincompoops in the news.
Oh,
but it's pretty cool. Have you ever seen the movie Office Space?
Yes.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So Office Space parlayed its kind of major dramatic question based on Superman 3. You ever see Superman 3?
Probably.
Basically the same two concepts in the grift of both movies, in that computers use decimal points and they track money out to like the 10th decimal.
Yeah, fractions of cents.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you just move the decimal one place and cut it off and then move that into an account, you can get some pretty good money built up over time.
Okay.
That's the concept. Now, when a software developer's test program ran wild overnight, he arrived at work to find security guards waiting on him, ready to arrest him, and the test account mysteriously filled with a fortune. The incident was reported in The Register, Monday morning's feature in which we share tales of technological messes with your fellow readers. Working at a 3G telecom startup, a developer identified as Trey created what seemed like a simple payment testing application. The program was designed to send a 1-cent test transaction every 5 minutes using SMS commands to trigger payments. His department head was impressed with the demonstration and that he requested immediate deployment of the test program. When deployed, 3 bugs transformed the test program into an aggressive money printing machine.
Oh, boy.
Instead of processing 1-cent transactions, the program sent $100 at a time. And it didn't wait 5 minutes, but fired them off continuously one after another.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
So apparently, when Trey got to work the next day after launching the program, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars waiting into the test account. And it was a telephone call that got him off the hook as the security guards realized this was just a test program gone wrong. So there you go.
No red staplers involved?
No red staplers involved.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to light the building on fire.
Set it on fire. Excuse me. There was no umbrella in my Mai Tai. What is a pina colada? I'll burn this resort to the ground. 50 after the hour. That's how we play Nincompoops in the news. Coming up in mere moments, the House of Representatives. This is no nincompooperi. This is the real deal. 264 to 159. They have passed the Laken Riley Act. We'll tell you what that is and why it's significant in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I am so pleased to be able to tell you about Grace Point Healthcare. They're affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine. They are a primary care provider that offers direct pay service, meaning all of your treatment decisions are made between yourself and your medical provider. That's it. No intermediaries, no insurance company telling you what you can or cannot do. Grace Point delivers medicine affordably in a menu-style and transparent pricing program. They, in conjunction, their smart care plans for just $69 a month are just incredible. Those smart care plans, $69 a month, offers free office visits and basic labs and diagnostic testing for free for you at Grace Point. There's no long wait times in the waiting rooms, and they are your primary care provider that treats the entire family from newborns to seniors. I love the way that they do business. I love what they say about their business model. It's modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way, and don't we all need that in today's day and age? Go to Franklin and get to the heart of the matter with Grace Point Healthcare. They're a military veteran-owned practice, and patients are treated naturally whenever possible. Here's the telephone number, 599-6868. That's 615-599-6868 for our friends at Grace Point Healthcare.
Hurricane-like winds fueling a massive wildfire. Hear how people are getting to safety in California coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. That's the real news. I have some news coming from the Snow Calamity Network that I want to relate to you regarding what is expected on Friday.
All righty.
Yeah. Here's the latest from the Snow Calamity Network. Here's what we're expecting as of right now. You can expect from anywhere from 0 to 85 inches of snow. It's going to start probably Friday, but maybe Saturday or Sunday, as late as Monday, but maybe not at all. And the recommendations would be to stock up on all necessities immediately to prepare for snowpocalypse, or if you prefer, snowmageddon, or a beautiful weekend. Either one is possible. That is from the Snow Calamity Network.
Glad we cleared that up.
I'm glad we cleared that up. In other words, we don't. Well, I think safe to say at almost 6 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon that it's snowing Friday, right?
That's what they say.
That's what they always say.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say it's snowing on Friday.
There's a good chance for it.
Ken, I don't know if I've asked you this directly. How are you anti? You're anti. Are you anti? Snow?
What?
Anti-snow.
I can't stand it.
Okay. Well, I mean, that answers that. And Weber and I are on record as we're pro nice snowfall.
Yeah.
At least one a year.
Yeah,
I mean,
at least one good snowfall.
Yeah.
Now, would I want to live in Buffalo, New York? No. Wouldn't want to do that.
No.
Lord have mercy.
That would be. I lived in Middletown, Connecticut during a winter. We had 80 inches of snow that winter.
Good grief!
And it doesn't really melt that much. And
just piles up. They plow it.
They plow it, and it piles up. And I moved there during the summer, and I wondered, why are these roads? Why is this 2-lane road so wide? And I did not understand why it was so wide on the exterior. I understood that winter. You need all that space to put all that snow.
Yep.
I wouldn't want that, but I want a good snowfall, and I'd become a 12-year-old, I admit it. All right, well, we're anticipating that. We've got one more hour to go. We'll tell you about the Laken Riley Act and why in the world. I'm going to get on my rant pants in a moment. Why did 159 congressional representatives vote against this? Makes 0 sense. We'll rant about it next on Super Talk.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And while we're freezing and bracing for snow, wind-driven wildfires forcing people out of their homes in parts of Los Angeles, a 30-acre fire has blown up to more than 800 acres in the Pacific Palisades.
We're talking winds potentially of 100 miles an hour. That this is about as severe as the winds we're ever going to see here in Southern California. This is about life safety right now. This is about getting engines in there, saving lives of those who have been trapped. We've been getting reports of people who are trapped in their homes and needing rescue, and firefighters having to go in. There was even an LAPD officer who was trapped, surrounded by fire, and they had to send in a rescue helicopter to look for that LAPD officer.
That's Alex Stone reporting. Just one state over, law enforcement updating the investigation into the Cybertruck explosion in Vegas on New Year's Day. Sheriff Kevin McCahill says they've been going over the suspect's digital history.
We also have clear evidence in this case now that the suspect used ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, to help plan his attack.
Yeah, a document, he says, found on the suspect's phone mentions political, cultural, social issues to include criticism of the Biden administration. He also allegedly said he was really high on weed. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
2 out of every 5 Americans have medical debt, and those unpaid medical bills can take a big toll on your credit score. But now that is about to change. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans.
Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, rolling back many of his company's content moderation practices, including getting rid of third-party so-called fact checkers.
Fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the U.S.
Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, going to use a community note system where volunteers can add additional context to viral posts. Meta's trust and safety team also moving from California to Texas. And right now in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 was there when Wilson County School Board member Dr. Beth Myers spoke on misbehavior on school buses.
If you are a parent, please talk to your children about respect, about sitting down, about not using profanity with our bus drivers. It's common courtesy.
Dr. Myers and the other board members considering volunteer parents to ride buses to observe students and let drivers know when there are issues. They would be hands-off, just observers. Some board members said they're told middle schoolers are causing the most problems on buses in Wilson County. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, still showing a crash on the North Loop going northbound right after the 2465 split, and then 65 northbound before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard, exit 95. Got a crash reported by police there. Near the airport, I-40 eastbound, the off-ramp to Donaldson Pike is partially blocked. Then in the Belmont area, 440 eastbound after Hillsborough Pike, exit 3, police reporting a crash there. And in Franklin, a motorist assist on the left shoulder there. Get over and make sure you don't hit anybody, especially the troopers working this one. That's 65 southbound approaching Paytonsville Road, Goose Creek Bypass, exit 61. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$2025 starting off with a bang. Thank you for being with us on the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 6 minutes after 6 o'clock, almost 7 after 6. Donald Trump earlier today was talking about taking over Canada, Greenland, the Panama Canal, and the like. We'll discuss it in the final hour of the show. Hope you're well. Hope everybody's safe and sound in their homes, or perhaps you're at your place of business, or maybe you're in between somewhere in your automobile. We thank you for listening, whatever time you're able to give us. We're appreciative of that. You are all field producers, and we rely on you to a certain degree. I try to remind our listening audience of this from time to time, especially in the afternoon drive time. So if you see something, say something. Let us know safely, obviously, on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. You can find us on 99.7 FM on your radio dial, of course. We're on the app. Our app goes everywhere you go with your smartphone technology or your laptop. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. And then, of course, powered by our friends at US Pest, we bring you Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Like and subscribe if you head over there. LPR is coming up in just a moment. License plate readers in East Nashville. And what is the holdup? There's a community meeting that I think is starting like right now, if I'm not mistaken, in East Nashville, at the East Nashville precinct, over this incredible amount of break-ins that have occurred over a very short amount of time. And I know that they think they've caught some of the perpetrators of the break-ins. These are automobile break-ins. But one wonders when Freddie O'Connell will acquiesce to the desires of his Metro Nashville Police Department. When will he stop pandering to the minority within his community and address the needs of the majority of the people of Davidson County and give them what they say they desire, which is LPRs, which are very effective if monitored properly. More on that in a moment. In the meantime, earlier today, and this feels like a good thing. It is a good thing. It is another tool in the arsenal for our Border Patrol agents, immigrations and custom enforcement agents, and local authorities to combat the scourge of criminal illegal alien behavior going on in this country. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, Joe Biden. House lawmakers passed legislation today requiring federal agents to detain illegal immigrants suspected of committing nonviolent crime in the United States of America. It was the first action taken by the 119th Congress after electing their leadership. The House voted 264 to 159 to pass the Laken Riley Act. 48 Democrats joined 216 Republicans in voting for the legislation, which is named, of course, after the Georgia nursing student, Laken Riley, who was brutally murdered last year by an illegal alien. Representative Mike Collins of Georgia said, "I'm thankful that the House passed the Laken Riley Act in an overwhelmingly bipartisan manner. No family should have to go through what Laken's has endured. Sadly, families are doing so almost on a regular basis. I would not suggest that these types of incidents happen daily, but certainly you see instances where illegal aliens are committing acts of violence against others in this country. They're committing illegal acts, DUIs, automobile accidents, property theft, all of these things happening on a daily basis. And the Biden administration chooses to ignore it, as they have for the last 4 years. And sadly, 159 Democrats don't seem to care." Mike Collins continued, "It's now up to the Senate to work together to put crucial legislation on President Trump's desk." Last Congress, 37 Democrats joined Republicans in voting for the Laken Riley Act, but the bill did not go anywhere in the Senate because the Senate was controlled by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. This time around, the bill heads to a GOP-controlled Senate, where it is sure to pick up momentum. Democrats' John Fetterman. Is it not amazing how much sense? I know that we don't agree with this guy on most things, but I am fascinated in the way that he has taken a common sense approach to his role as a senator from the state of Pennsylvania. Isn't that the Granite State?
Keystone
State?
Yeah.
What's the Granite State? Is that New Hampshire? No. Well, tell me what the Granite State is. Idaho? I don't know.
The Granite State, I believe, is Nevada.
Okay. Let's see.
I believe.
I don't know why that came into my head.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
You were in the right neck of the woods.
I was in the right neighborhood. Okay. New Hampshire. Live free or die.
Oh, I meant Nevada.
Did I mispronounce New Hampshire? I said Nevada. I meant New Hampshire. There was a time where I could name all my state capitals. There was a time. That time was long, long ago.
I might be able to pull them all out if I had enough time to prepare. Think
What do you
about
mean?
it,
What? Pull them up? What do you mean?
Just think
Prepare?
about it. Think about it. I couldn't just rattle them off.
Just throw me one. Just throw me one. Let's see. Let's throw me one. Just give me one.
Well, New Hampshire.
Concord.
Very good.
Thank you. All right, we'll do one a day.
One a day
for the next 50 days. See how well we do. All right, so this time around, the bill heads to the GOP-controlled Congress. Democrat John Fetterman of Pennsylvania and Gary Peters of Michigan have backed the legislation alongside their Republican colleagues. According to Fetterman, in a post on X, ICE reported tens of thousands of migrants with criminal records, homicide or sexual assault. 425,000 have criminal records in total and should be deported, said Fetterman. I support a secure border. I support a legal path for dreamers. I support the Laken Riley Act, said John Fetterman. John Fetterman. Senator Katie Britt of Alabama is leading the Senate push to get the Laken Riley Act passed ahead of Trump's inauguration. She introduced companion legislation today alongside Fetterman, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Senator Ted Budd, and the rest of the Senate GOP. What's fascinating, this should be a no-brainer. Our border security should be a no-brainer. You ever occasionally sit back and wonder how the hell we got to where we are? Where we have seen the flood of, by some estimates, 8 to 10 million illegal aliens in the last 4 years. How did we get there? How did we get here? This is what happens when you have an election cycle that is unchallenged within the mainstream media in terms of its, let's just say, accuracy. And you have a president of the United States that is unfettered by his mental capacity. And I mean that the way Joe Biden is unburdened. Remember when Kamala Harris said, it's time to be unburdened by what has been, or whatever the phrase is that she used 1,068 times? Joe Biden, for the last 4 years, has been unburdened by an ability to think. And his handlers don't have their name assigned to any of this, so what do they care? Their goal is to get as many people in here processed as possible. Lawlessness be damned, violence be damned. Who cares? They want as many people as possible to get in line to sign up to become the next set of voters, whether in this generation or the next. And they don't care if it's better for the United States of America, sadly. This legislation should not only be a no-brainer, it should be unanimously passed in the halls of Congress. The American people delivered a mandate on November 5th. They delivered a verdict, as Katie Britt put it, on November 5th. Now, whether the Democrats hear that and understand it remains to be seen. Sadly, it seems as if they are going to double down on some of their most ridiculous policies and political positions. If they imported them, you know what amazes me is the manner in which the mainstream media reacts to phrases like mass deportation. Now, let's be clear. Mass deportations will occur in the same fashion that mass illegal immigration occurred. You only create mass illegal immigration by allowing them to come in one by one, by one, by one, by one, by one, by one, and eventually it becomes a mass of people, all here illegally. And it will take time to remove them. And yes, in the real world, it takes agreements with those countries that they came from, but you can press your thumb on those nations from a financial perspective, from an economic perspective, and achieve what you want to achieve. But for a moment, I want you to consider that what this bill was about, what this bill passed today, the Laken Riley Act did, was to only require that federal agents detain illegal immigrants suspected of committing crimes, in addition to their illegal nature in the country. And if you're not following the Laken Riley story, this individual had been detained in the past and was released by federal authorities because he had not committed a, quote, violent crime. He went on to obviously commit the violent crime of murder and killed Laken Riley. How is it that 159 Democrats voted against this? How is it that they voted against the idea of detaining the Venezuelan illegal alien by the name of Jose Antonio Ibarra, who has now been sentenced to life in prison for committing the bloodthirsty murder of Laken Riley as she was jogging around the campus of the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia? Before killing Riley, Ibarra crossed the southern border, received a taxpayer-funded flight to New York City, stayed at the Roosevelt Hotel. From there, he was given a flight to Georgia and worked at a Korean restaurant. And obviously, after killing Riley, it sparked a national conversation about why in the hell we are allowing these things to happen in our country and how in the world 159 Democrats voted against this. It goes to show you that they don't care about the lives of the American people. And if nothing else, we ought to highlight that fact. It should make each of us mad as hell that there are individuals that are, quote unquote, representing this country in this fashion. This is no representation. This should have been a unanimous vote. Yet, sadly, partisanship gets in the way of American lives. A desire for power gets in the way of American lives. It's shameful. And hopefully we turn this thing around on January 20th. Donald Trump's ready for January 20th. He said as much earlier today. Donald Trump said January 20th, the economy's certainly going to turn around.
January 20th will turn the economy around very quickly because right now when I think of our economy, I think about inflation. That's what we have. We have inflation, I believe, at a level that we never had before. There's never been anything like it. And over the next 4 years, the United States is going to take off like a rocket ship. But really, it's already doing it. If you take a look, just last month, SoftBank announced the $200 billion. I think it'll be 200. He said between 100, and I said, how about making it 200? And he sort of said yes, but let's say it's 100, but it might be 200, right, Brian? Dollars.
This is what I love. Trump, they agree to something. Like this guy today, this guy from the UAE, United Arab Emirates, comes up and it's $20 billion. It's a $20 billion investment. He brought the guy up to the front of the room to talk about the investment. The guy said, I wouldn't have done this had he not been president of the United States. And then Trump follows him up and does the same thing. He's like, well, he says $20 billion. We're hoping for maybe double that, right? We could maybe get $40 billion investment. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, he puts these people on the spot. And he also noted the reason that Donald Trump presents these people before the assembled media is not because they want to be there. And Trump noted this today. It's not because these business leaders or these leaders of foreign government, they don't want to be. He wants to put them in front of the cameras so other business leaders and other foreign governments see them there and see the amount of investment that they're making in the United States of America. And you pressure other nations and other companies to do the same when you do this. America is open for business. That is what the announcement was today. We'll give you more of what Trump had to say earlier today. It's 21 after the hour. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'll tell you, folks, I knew that I was waking up at night. I knew that I was not sleeping as I should, but I also knew that it didn't matter if I had sleep apnea or not because I could not wear one of those CPAP machines, you know, the one with the big mask and the hose and all of that. And I was talking to Dr. Stephen Poss about this fact, and he said, Matt, do you know if you have sleep apnea? I said, I don't. So I took a sleep test, and I brought the results back to Dr. Poss. And yes, in fact, I had sleep apnea. I do have sleep apnea. I was one of the 25% of adult men or women that have sleep apnea but don't snore that much during the course of the night. That was according to my sleep test. Well, Dr. Poss and now Dr. McLaughlin along with him, they have an FDA-approved device. Dr. Poss told me about it originally. He said, Murphy, you don't have to wear a hose. You don't have to wear a mask. You can wear this oral device that fits into your mouth. It gently holds your jaw forward. You breathe better, and you sleep through the night. You don't snore. You sleep better. You have more energy in the morning. And it was all true, folks. I'm sleeping better right now. Thank you to Dr. Poss, Dr. McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. You could be the next success story. 2 locations, one in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro, in network with most insurance in the state of Tennessee. Get with them at drposs.com. That's drposs.com. It's Dr. Poss, Dr. McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.